Chapter 880, Reevaluation. Chapter 880, Reevaluation. Proofreader, Papatonks. The man shook his head, struggling out of the guard's grip as he sighed, I see. Thank you, sir, for the advice. I have failed to understand sir's wish. All my life I've been in competition with my skills, only to finally find one where they aren't as needed. Haha, but it's fine. I'm eliminated now, but I'm happy about it. Goodbye, everyone, and good luck. He gave a bow and walked out with a smile, on his own 2 feet and not thrown out. An alchemist had his dignity. Seeing his back straight even as he failed and that smile, it was deeply ingrained in the others' minds, having mixed feelings. Sir, I forfeit. Someone stood up, bowing towards Bailey Jingwei, I'm not fit to join the imperial capital. It's best for me to be a free alchemist. Bailey Jingwei nodded, it all depends on yourself and your wishes if you want to serve the empire. I won't impose on you. Thank you, sir. The man walked out. More and more people chose to walk away. While greed was widespread among them, they were still men of character that would choose to step down rather than betray their dignity and values. Before the second round even started, people were leaving en masse, leaving but 100. Shengwan Feiyin watched from a corner, wasn't Bailey Jingwei the most admired official? It looks like his remarks today have repulsed many talents. He's not his usual wise self. Ha ha ha, Brother Feiyin, aren't you confused? You think this is really a Pill King convention? Dan Qingshan squinted, Bailey Jingwei is searching for the Shengwan clan. Since those tough men left, it makes it easier to inspect the few remaining. In other words, anyone can leave, anyone but the Shengwan clan. Bailey Jingwei had figured this out and that's why he's inciting them. Shengwan Feiyin eyed Dan Qingshan, you mean Shengwan clansmen are among them? Isn't it possible that the pile he cast out includes some as well? No, Bailey Jingwei's actions are precise. We both know that. Dan Qingshan took a deep breath, we might not know why he threw them out, but one thing's certain. The net is closing in, with Shengwan clan at its center. Shengwan Feiyin nodded, Bailey Jingwei, sagely statesman, has amazing control. Cousin, I've never seen a pill competition like this before. Pulling on Zhuo Fan's sleeve, Shengwan Qingyan looked hateful. Since she couldn't lash out, she had to share it with him. Since the great young Missy of Shengwan clan couldn't see Bailey Jingwei's machination, nothing could be said about the rest of the alchemists. Of the 3 Shengwan clan spies, everyone else that stayed was without a doubt a cowardly and dishonorable alchemist. All going according to the guy's plan. Looking at the smug Shengwan Yulin, as if patting himself on the back for being selected to stay, Zhuo Fan shook his head. Is he really that blind to the tightening noose? He was among the rare ones who saw through Bailey Jingwei's reasoning. Shengwan clan wasn't good at alchemy, and Shengwan Feiyin knew this, having only been 10 short days from the announcement and the holding of the Pill King convention. Getting a presentable alchemist ready in such a time was an illusion, though more than enough for a pretender. This made the previous round focused on speed to be in fact a test of the mind. Alchemists trained for years and years, starting from scratch and mastering every kind of skill and recipe before advancing a grade. This solidified their base. This meant that a 6th-grade alchemist could make any pill to that grade as long as he had the recipe. While a pretender, having gone through alchemy cram school, would never be able to make more than some average pill. In other words, he lacked the basics. His cultivation supported him to make 8th grade, but top 7th grade would be impossible still. Bailey Jingwei had them eliminated still, proving that no spy was among them. He was more interested in the shady alchemists. This was Bailey Jingwei's net. Though odds were only Zhuo Fan saw through it. All the others saw was a strange Pill King convention, as if tailored to the whims of their masters in the imperial capital. Unaware that it was nothing but a trap to ferret out Shengwan clan spies. Zhuo Fan was now pondering on a counter. Shengwan Yulin, the only pawn I can use. Should I throw him to the wolves? If he did toss him out, he'd come into the open as well. The question is, what kind of man is this guy? Looking for an instant result or a patient fisherman? Just how far will he go? Zhuo Fan knew the host was shrewd from all that had been going according to his plan and not Shangguan Feiyan's. Zhuo Fan had come to Flying Cloud City only 2 months ago. From Shangguan Feiyan's meticulous and forced search, it showed he was not a shrewd mind. Only 2 weeks ago was the competition announced, turning into a web. Unlike the previous method, this was a more subtle and ingenious trap. It was obvious that this guy only arrived in Flying Cloud City around that time. He had to be from the imperial capital and of equal power as Sword King Feiyan to take the main role in ordering the manor guards to his wishes. Zhuo Fan squinted as he was figuring Bailey Jingwei out. He was courteous, steady, decisive, and a man of action. His mind had to be broad and not after crumbs. He may not touch me even when I'm in front of him, or it would drive away the real target, the Shangguan clan. I'll be safe until the two fight it out. This way I'll use it to my advantage, from the shadows and in the open, to gain victory. Finding the two's clash inevitable, Zhuo Fan sighed and showed a crooked smile. Ha ha ha, Shangguan Yulin, be good and stick out your head. You're in high demand to be used by Shangguan Feiyan and Shangguan Feixiong. Everyone wants you, he he he. Shangguan Yulin felt a chilling breeze that sent a cold shiver down his spine. Who the hell is targeting me? Bailey Jingwei then spoke out, congratulations, everyone, you've advanced to the second round. The topic will be, ha ha ha, I've yet to come up with one. Just refine. Ugh. The people looked at each other lost. This is too damn random. Just refine. What's the requirement then? What if you only accept 8th grade and cast out the 9th grade we make? How are we supposed to accept that? It's you who has the final say anyway. This competition is too weird. The candidates were stumped when one spoke up, Sir, please enlighten us about the entire process so as to avoid any mistakes. Ha ha ha, there isn't one. Just do your best. Bailey Jingwei smiled, but his vague grin puzzled them even more. Zhuo Fan's Yuan Qi flame soared just then, speaking casually, didn't Sir tell you already? Do your best. Doesn't that mean you have to show what you're capable of? Zhuo Fan threw ingredients into his fire and the others rushed to start as well, unaware this was Bailey Jingwei's second attempt at ferreting Shangguan clan spies. Chapter 881, Dazzling. Chapter 881, Dazzling. Proofreader, Papatonks. What do you mean, do your best? Flames burned hotter in many eyes and in even more hands, revealing a very grave face. Zhuo Fan had solved their problem, but the meaning was very much eluding still. Taking the words at face value, it meant just what Zhuo Fan said, to show just what they were made of by refining their very peak. But this is the second round. What would await them in the finals? If they went all out now, what would be tested then? Having gone through a weird requirement already, they reckoned going ahead with a few hidden cards was best. Of course, that didn't mean making a weaker pill than before, or it wouldn't be their best. The candidates nodded and went in with some restraints, though making sure to do better than before. Besides, only great alchemists like them would know the truth, while outsiders were none the wiser to the deception. Bailey Jingwei eyed them with a smile, you'd best not play smart with me. While there are 3 rounds, but to select a true alchemist, there's no need for all of them. What do you mean, sir? The candidates jerked, having been found out. Bailey Jingwei had a wicked smirk, Sword King Feiyan is a busy man and doesn't have the time to waste on your drawn-out refining. Maybe in the last round he'll find you an eyesore. So the second round is your time to show your best. Miss it and it'll be too late for regrets. An imperial capital alchemist is judged by aesthetics? The candidates were shocked. Then their skills would not be worth a lick in the last round, only judged by their fine traces or appalling visage. Bailey Jingwei shook his head, that isn't to say it will happen, but what if when you meet with the Sword King he'll judge your speech? Ha ha ha, who can say? With dark looks on their faces, the candidates sighed, feeling weirded out by these peculiarities in a competition. You're here looking for alchemists, not a pretty boy. What does skin have to do with any of this? Shangguan Feiyan was pissed, his face twitching. Blast it! Is he making a mockery out of me? What of my name? Shangguan Feiyin cursed, the rotten punk is using my manner to say what he likes. When word gets out they'll say I'm a queer with some depraved kink. How am I supposed to look people in the eye? Dan Qingshan chuckled, Brother Feiyin, isn't Bailey Jingwei after Shangguan clan spies? With so many people, while the most will be swayed in not going through with this, only the spy will go all out. How is this supposed to single them out? How to judge? Shangguan Feiyin glared at the smiling guy. Dan Qingshan paused, then shook his head, I don't know, but he must have a plan. We're best off watching with calmness. Fine, I'll wait. If in the end I don't see a single spy, he'll have to answer to me. Huffing, Shangguan Feiyin spat. Dan Qingshan chuckled, looking at Zhuo Fan in front with a hard gaze. Boy, why are you here? Are you in on this as well? Who? While most candidates were in a quandary, the top three were refining like always. They didn't give a damn about Bailey Jingwei's ridiculous speech. All they had to do was do their best to showcase their skills and ignore everything. They had that much confidence in their skills that none could match. If there was one restriction across the whole wide world, that would be strength. No matter where you were, all was based on strength. Kid, a Yuan Qi flame still? Yeah. You sure are something to bring a Yuan Qi flame to such height. Meng Feitian and his junior brother were amazed with Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan shrugged, it's only good control. TCH, can control ignore the other flame's interference? We've been alchemists for too long to fall for you cheap tricks. The old men weren't duped like those amateurs. But they didn't push Zhuo Fan for his secret either. They knew alchemy had a rule, not to ask. Kid, we're both peak 9th grade alchemists with a rare 10th grade sometimes refined. This time, I'm ready to challenge a 10th pill. What about you? You're not that weak, so what are you going to make? 8th or 9th grade? With your cultivation and speed, you can't be just an average 7th grade alchemist, but a rare 8th grade radiant stage alchemist. He, truly outstanding. Kid, such a talent is amazing. Zhuo Fan eyed them in silence. The guy on stage clearly cherishes talent. Shangguan Yulin will be exposed soon. To make sure he'll go easy on me, I'll need to dazzle him. No choice but to show my hand. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone and smiled, Seniors, I plan on making an 11th grade. The two staggered at the sudden response, then gave him a mean look. Kid, we know you've got talent and even thought about guiding you. Yet you mock us. Meng Feitian glared. Xue Dingxian cursed, we're really giving our all to challenge the 10th grade and you're saying you'll go for 11th? If that ain't mockery, I don't know what is. Humph, rotten punk, we respect your talent and you grow cocky with your seniors. Even with such a talent, your petty mind will hold you back. Seniors, you got it all wrong. That's not it at all. Zip it. You're telling me you're going to make an 11th grade pill? Smiling, Meng Feitian was fuming, 8th grade is the limit for a radiant stage talent like you. 9th grade is impossible. If you were at our stage, maybe you might have a modicum chance of making an 11th grade. But certainly not now. Yes, impossible. You're clearly mocking us. Xue Dingxian stood with Meng Feitian. Zhuo Fan shrugged, flinging spirit stones around to set up a bizarre array. The elders were taken aback, what are you up to now? This is alchemy, not arrays. Bailey Jingwei noticed the ruckus in front and looked curious. Family skill, pill array. With a mysterious smile, Zhuo Fan went through the gestures, I'm making an 11th grade pill without an array, it's a pain, ha ha ha. Roar. Finishing one gesture, he pointed down and a draconic roar echoed out. Zhuo Fan made another sign and the Yuan Qi flame blended with the array. What followed were constant roars as 9 fire dragons took to the skies. The still stumped amateurs were looking shocked, lost for words. What is that? Isn't it supposed to be alchemy? Bailey Jingwei was intrigued, eyes shining. Zhuo Fan looked coldly at the crowd and Bailey Jingwei as he made another sign. It was time to reveal his worth, and to do that, a dazzling skill was required to knock them all off their feet. So much so the host will feel pain just thinking of killing a genius like me. Zhuo Fan shouted, 9 dragons unite, pill amplification. Roar! The 9 fire dragons clashed like how he did back in Tianyu. The medicine inside them combined with every clash. Chapter 882, Assured Entry. Chapter 882, Assured Entry. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bang! The fire dragons slammed into each other, making the boiling medicine flowing through them fly out and combine. In mere moments, Zhuo Fan had done the impossible, refined the ingredients, combined them and formed the pill. As the last fire dragon slammed, its fire slowly faded to reveal a round scarlet pole. Zhuo Fan was finished. Hum. The pill sent ripples around, burning as hot and bright as the sun itself. The audience basked in its aura with every release, filling their veins with power. This is an 11th grade pill? Meng Feitian and Xue Dingxian, the 2 grandmasters, were dumbstruck. All they could do was stand there like some fools, forking their jaws as their attention was robbed from the flames in their hands, their own refining ruined. The spectacle had blown their minds. The rest didn't fare any better, looking dazed and bug-eyed. You're telling me that grand display was alchemy? You can do that? Why haven't we heard it before? Shangwan Qingyan, next to Zhuo Fan, was just as overwhelmed. She didn't know, nor see, an alchemist being so flashy in his refining. Only Zhuo Fan could make something as insipid as alchemy into a show. Sure enough, her eyes looked at him with a hazy gaze. He was an alchemist, she knew that from before, but not to this amazing extent. Like all pills were in the palms of his hands, waiting to just open them to show to the world. Zhuo Fan made a sign and the small sun fell in his palm as he declared, top 11th grade pill, complete. Paw! Bailey Jingwei jerked so hard on the stage from his weak knees that he almost fell down. He ignored demeanor as he made a mad dash for Zhuo Fan and gently received the pill, scanning every side of this genuine 11th grade pill. Sir Gu. Bailey Jingwei's lips quivered, overwhelmed by the act and the result. He was seeing Zhuo Fan like a second father, his hands shaky. The guards were stunned. Being Bailey Jingwei's personal guards for many years, not once had they witnessed the wise prime minister lose his cool. Only before such an incredible alchemist did this man show such an absurd reaction. Bailey Jingwei grabbed Zhuo Fan's hands, after reining in some of the excitement, and declared, Sir Gu, you're a miracle. Now that you're an 11th grade alchemist, reaching the peak of 12th grade is only a matter of time. It's Western Land's loss for driving you away. But now that you're in the central area, it's truly great. Bailey Jingwei sounded a little crazed, his eyes teary. Zhuo Fan's eyes shook as well, for a different reason. This kid doesn't cherish talents, he loves M. If it was anything to go by, his poor life was safe when Shangwan clan's plan went bust. All that left was to incite the 2 camps into a war so he could cast his line. Zhuo Fan grinned, certain that the fight would end up with him showing himself and coming out on top. Sir Gu, please come on up. You are the undisputed king of this competition. With a flourish, Bailey Jingwei bowed and invited him up above all in this competition. Zhuo Fan waved his hands, Sir, please, this is only the 2nd round. It'll be up to the Sword King's decision in the final round. With Sir's glorious talent, Sword King Feiyun will definitely appreciate you. Bailey Jingwei was elated, smiling from ear to ear. Even throughout the central area, there are but a few 11th grade alchemists, even fewer of Sir's age. You're exactly the talent Sword Star Empire needs. In less than a century, Sir will become the best alchemist in the world. Your worth can't be measured. Zhuo Fan grinned inside. I got him so good, he starts praising me. He couldn't help feeling pride inside. Since the guy was so nice and imposing, he found it hard to even try to refuse. So he walked with Bailey Jingwei on stage, under the revered gazes of the audience. Shangguan Qingyan was flushed from the glory. Shangguan Yulin, though, was another story. Watching the situation taking the opposite turn he wished for, he was gnashing his teeth and howling inside. He was the main here. But then that sub turned out to slip into the enemy camp first. If he hesitated now, then he might be eliminated. He could already see the scorn and piercing looks as he dragged his feet back to the clan. How would everyone else see him then? The fake nephew ended up being better than the real thing. How would his uncle take it? No! I have to do it better than him. There's only one way to kick him off his high horse and into his grave, to let the manor kill him for me. But before that, he had to get in himself. Shangguan Yulin ignored everything as he focused his all on the burning flame in hand. He threw 10th grade ingredients one after the other, swearing to make his best pill yet. The candidates around stared stunned. I say, what's got into you, brothers? Why is every refining you guys do akin to a duel? What's your beef with this pill anyway? The men didn't care much anyway. With Zhuofan having given them a goal to reach, and seeing Bailey Jingwei's reaction, they knew the second round was based on pill grade. They started their own process then, throwing in the best ingredients they had in hope of passing. The two grandmasters were dumbstruck for a long time now, then their eyes looked complicated. Wait, Grandmaster Gu. The mere making of an 11th grade pill had upended their view of Zhuofan. Also obvious how he was better than them. Zhuofan smiled at the two. What is it, seniors, do you have any more advice? We'd never be so presumptuous as to be Grandmaster Gu's seniors. The two were frantic and ashamed. Grandmaster Gu, has Sir made the 11th grade pill with your own 11th grade ingredients? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow, but shook his head. Why would I? With the manor giving us ingredients, why should I pay out of my pocket? But the highest grade the manor offered was 10th. What of it? Zhuofan chuckled, putting on the airs of an ascendant. All herbs have spirits. In a right match, their grade will rise, while in a poor one, it will fall. My pill array drew on the world's energy to integrate the spiritual nature of the ingredients. So why can't it make an 11th grade pill with 10th grade ingredients? Why can't it? The two were too lost for words. Isn't that convenient to you? Why can't it? To you it's easy, but others didn't even think of it. In fact, this is unheard of. Sir Gu's talent is not just that of an alchemist, but of a grandmaster among grandmasters. To make it sound so easy, he's truly the pinnacle of his generation. The two bowed heavily and walked. Bailey Jingwei asked, Grandmasters, where are you going? We don't deserve that title. The two sighed. We now realize that there's always someone better out there. We lack training. We'll be entering seclusion and study upon alchemy. Fame and glory is not for us. We hope the next time we come out, we'll be able to catch up a bit to Grandmaster Gu. The two laughed and sighed. Old man, should we still compete? What competition? Since we're both lacking, are we to see who sucks the most? True, competing now sounds like a joke, ha ha ha. Watching their backs, Bailey Jingwei took a deep breath. Was it something I said? Is that why the two grandmasters are leaving? Faking innocence, Zhuofan turned to Bailey Jingwei. Bailey Jingwei smiled and bowed. Sir's amazing talent has opened their eyes. I've never seen old Meng look so carefree. Sir's talent has turned the two grandmasters into believers, into making them cast away fame and wealth, returning to their pure fascination with alchemy. I'm sure that decades later the two grandmasters will be even more amazing. Chapter 883, Closing the Net. Chapter 883, Closing the Net. Proofreader, Papatonks. To think the fake Pill King convention ended up helping Bailey Jingwei draw in another talent. From afar, Shangguan Feiyun clicked his tongue. This grandmaster's skill is truly out of this world, and so young too. He has such ability with alchemy despite his poor cultivation. Even I can't help but cherish such a gem. In a couple of centuries, this man will become the best in the world. We definitely struck gold, roping him in. What do you think, old man? Dan Qingshan merely nodded, no longer concerning himself as to what drove Zhuo Fan to come here. See cousin, do you think there's someone else who'll pass? Shangguan Qingyan stood next to Zhuo Fan on stage and glanced at Shangguan Yulin. To bring up the main who he planned on using for his own plans, but that was way too obvious and hinted at their connection. Zhuo Fan thus played deaf. Though not out of fear of being found out, since it was all part of his plan, but out of worry that his value would drop to Bailey Jingwei. Coming out to recommend now is truly idiotic. Though Zhuo Fan was not so keen on doing it, Shangguan Qingyan was all for it. Shangguan Qingyan glared at his silence and pointed at Shangguan Yulin, faking wisdom. Cousin, don't you think that person is quite good? Nah, just plain average. Zhuo Fan didn't bother even looking. Shangguan Qingyan was annoyed, giving him the stink eye. Zhuo Fan tried playing it cool, but Bailey Jingwei's interest was spiked at her words. Bailey Jingwei looked over with sharp eyes and grinned, ha ha ha, Grandmaster Gu must have such high standards. That man's refining is good, quite good. Bailey Jingwei sounded off. But the sounds of alarm didn't sound in Shangguan Qingyan then, still thinking he took the bait and went on, see, sir saw right. His alchemy must be great. Ha ha ha, miss is too kind. It's not that I have good eyesight, it's Grandmaster Gu's high standards. To the two of us, he may be great, but Grandmaster Gu has a different worldview. Can he pass? Unable to contain her need to know the result, Shangguan Qingyan asked. Bailey Jingwei squinted, then beamed, does Miss know him? No. How could I know him? Ha ha, ha. Ha ha ha, it's fine either way. Since Miss finds him great, I'll keep my eye on him. Really? Shangguan Qingyan was giddy. Bailey Jingwei nodded with a most vague smile, sure, Miss is Grandmaster Gu's cousin and must have good eyes. I'll keep Miss' thought in mind. Thank you, he. Shangguan Qingyan had a bright smile, then raised a taunting and smug eyebrow at Zhuo Fan. See that, I got cousin in as well. Humph, you just don't know how to use your new status now that the host thinks so highly of you. Zhuo Fan shook his head, sighing inside. Dumb girl, he has a sharp mind filled with suspicions. Since you're so open in your recommendation, of course he's going to eye him. Only not for the same reasons. He's looking at him like a spy and you just served your cousin on a silver platter. Not like it changes anything. It's all part of the plan. At least I didn't do it and drop my value. If I did it, once Shangguan Yulin is found out, the host will think my mind is lacking and will see me with different eyes than now. Thanks for taking the blame for me, girl, ha ha ha. Snickering inside, Zhuo Fan avoided Shangguan Qingyan's gaze on purpose. Why are you looking away? You don't find my act helpful. 3 hours slowly passed like grains of sand in an hourglass. Bailey Jingwei saw most had finished their pills and called for the guards to take them, especially Shangguan Yulin's. He had no clue what was between Zhuo Fan and Shangguan Qingyan, but just like Zhuo Fan reckoned, Shangguan Qingyan leaked her intentions. This had him pay attention to this recommendation, also he didn't miss anything. What the hell? Why is a 7th grade a pass but my grade 8th grade is not enough? The people were rowdy and annoyed at the judgment. Bailey Jingwei didn't feel like making excuses at this moment, having them taken away before saying, I said to give your best, so congratulations. You did it, while they did not. Roar! They cheered having won the round. Shangguan Yulin was also clenching his fists, patting himself on the back for a refining well done. Shangguan Qingyan couldn't help but give Zhuo Fan a look of triumph. This way both spies are in. Only Zhuo Fan knew the ins and out, his mouth forming a thin smile. After the second round, 50 men were taken away, leaving only 34. Screening these many was far easier. Watching the ecstatic winners, Bailey Jingwei sighed, finally bringing this charade to an end. Time to close the net, ha ha ha. People, come with me. We'll be holding the final round before Sword King Feiyun. Bailey Jingwei smiled and walked behind the manor. The others rushed in excitement. A guard blocked Zhuo Fan from going as well, bowing, "Sir Gu, please wait. You don't have to join them." "Yeah, Sir Gu. Your talent makes you the undisputed Pill King. You don't have to waste time on more tests." Bailey Jingwei smiled at his puzzled look. "If Sir finds himself bored, I can ask the guard to give you a tour around the premises. I'll be with you in a moment and enjoy some drinks." Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, feigning ignorance, "But I thought of seeing Sword King Feiyan." "I can't." No, Sword King Feiyan will see you in person momentarily, rest assured. Please have a little patience, Sir Gu." Bailey Jingwei cupped his hands and led the others. All the candidates gave him looks of envy. He just got first spot in one pill, even skipping the final round. Sword King himself will be seeing him. He'll be sure to enjoy all the glory and wealth of the imperial capital, lavishing in the power the new status will bring him. It was envy in its most unadulterated form. This was all due to his strength. If they made an 11th grade pill, they'd be beside him. While envy was envy, those with hatred were far fewer, though including Shengwan Yulin, of course. In his mind, he was the main of this undercover operation. Me. Only to be beset by setbacks the moment he came here. He'd been ignored and thrown into obscurity while Zhuo Fan had an eye-catching performance, getting in the enemy's good graces, with all the honors in fact. Shengwan Yulin gave Zhuo Fan a death stare, his teeth crunching. Zhuo Fan chuckled, pulling Shengwan Qingyan's soft hand as he said to a guard, "It's my first time here. May I look around?" "Of course, Sir Gu. I'll show Sir around." As an honored guest of the Prime Minister, the guard knew to show respect. Shengwan Qingyan got dragged away by Zhuo Fan, but she did give Shengwan Yulin one last look and gesture. "Do your best." Face twitching, he only saw his cousin being taken by another man. His best was the last thing on his mind right now. Though he only had this final round to go through before he enjoyed Zhuo Fan's treatment, in the enemy's base. He'd have plenty of chances to finish off Zhuo Fan then with none the wiser. Shengwan Yulin squinted and walked on with bloodthirst. Shengwan Feiyan glanced at Danqing Shen, "Come, time to close the net. I'm curious to see if Bailey Jingwei caught anything, ha ha ha." Chapter 884, Perfect. Chapter 884, Perfect. Proofreader, Papatonks. The remaining candidates followed Bailey Jingwei behind the manor, to a wide clearing that had 3 high seats carved meticulously from wood. The only seat taken was the main one, by a middle-aged man in lavish clothes and of imposing demeanor, Shengwan Feiyan. Among the candidates, only Shengwan Yulin knew Sword King Feiyan. Recognizing him, the youth was instantly on guard. Shengwan Feiyan had left Eastern lands a century ago, but the younger generation had the benefit of the clan holding the portrait of this best in Eastern lands expert, revealing it before this job. Shengwan Yulin's heart hammered in his chest, his brows soaked. "Shengwan Feiyan, why aren't I seeing dragon-cleaving Sword King around?" Bailey Jingwei asked, seeing the empty chair next to him. "He's Sword King Feiyan." The candidates went into a bow on the spot, greeting Sword King Feiyan. "May you always know glory." Ignoring all of them, he glanced at Bailey Jingwei. "Brother Danqing doesn't like crowds and is walking around the manor. He won't be joining this hearing." "Oh, what a shame." Bailey Jingwei sat next to Shengwan Feiyan under the candidates' dumbstruck gazes. His eyes shone as he spoke, "The play is finally starting, ha ha ha." Shuddering, the hearts of others sank. They were stunned and puzzled at Bailey Jingwei's demeanor. Who is he? Isn't he a steward of Flying Cloud Manor? Out of the question. No steward will be this rude to Sword King, daring to sit right next to the Lord himself. Then how else could he control the manor's forces? The candidates were shocked at Bailey Jingwei's young age. Who was he to stand next to the Sword King? Shengwan Feiyan grinned and pointed at him. "You still haven't figured it out? Your host so far is our Imperial Prime Minister, Sir Bailey Jingwei. The Prime Minister himself." It was as if a bomb was dropped, with everyone shaking in the aftermath. The great Prime Minister of the Empire, the imperial family's key figure, had actually graced this competition with this presence. That meant passing it would make one prime minister's man. One get all the glory and power he could ever want in an instant. Everyone got fired up, eyes burning with excitement. Shangguan Yulin was the most shocked of them all. Bailey Jingwei's fame had been widespread even before he came to the Sword Star Empire. An immense talent in governing, of sharp mind and with ingenious plans. Word went around that he was the wisest in the Sword Star Empire. The Four Lands powers knew the Sword Star Empire only reached such height all thanks to power correlated with politics. Invincible Sword held the power and Bailey Jingwei's foolproof policies wielded politics. While less known than Invincible Sword, as if to conceal this sage's ability, the Four Lands were sure Bailey Jingwei's intellect had given Invincible Sword wings to spread his power. The same Bailey Jingwei was now before them, giving this competition a whole new value. Is this a trap? Shangguan Yulin felt like crying. If he'd known Bailey Jingwei was here, Shangguan would have stayed put and missed this rare chance of ambush. This was the power Bailey Jingwei wielded, that of the mind. One wrong step and it was curtains for any that crossed his path. Scanning their reverent gazes, Bailey Jingwei remained silent. Shangguan Yulin's tense look caught his eye the longest, but then he shook his head. That miss pointed out one suspicious man. From his appearance, I sense fear. A guilty conscience is more like it, ha ha ha. Grinning, Bailey Jingwei said, "You're all here, in the finals, hand-picked by me. This must make you Grandmaster Alchemists. Then, you must all grasp this chance and refine what I ask of you. Please guide us, Prime Minister." The people bowed in excitement. Prime Minister's man, Prime Minister's man. Bailey Jingwei snickered, "The goal is perfection." What does that mean? They were all stumped. Why have all of the Prime Minister's requirements been so weird? We can't make sense of it. Bailey Jingwei dispensed with the mystery, explaining, "You've refined the highest grade you could in the last round, some were average 9th grade, others inferior 8th grade. This time, I want you to make me a perfect pill to test just how exquisite your skills are. I want to see a flawless pill. Grade is secondary, as long as you make a perfect pill of that grade. Understand?" "Yes, we shall follow Prime Minister's instructions." The candidates cupped their hands and confidence surged in their eyes. Making a high-quality pill by dropping a grade couldn't be easier, especially compared to the hasty way the last round was held. This was a test of their basics, to see how well they mastered them. For a pretender like Shangguan Yulin who went through hell last week, the topic had him stuck. His pill's grade was all due to his cultivation and some super-secret refining arts. Oh, and don't forget top ingredients. As for top and perfect pills, this tested an alchemist's skill, control, sharpness, and familiarity of the art. He'd be exposed in seconds since he was no professional at this job. His eyes darted around for a way out, only to find Soul Harmony stage guards covering all bases, while Shangguan Feiyan was glaring from his perch. The instant he fled, he was done for. He felt like sobbing. What damn rotten luck. I told them I didn't want to, but no, they had to send me. Now I'll never come back. Shangguan Yulin's face fell at the sordid fate awaiting him. He felt victimized. Though failure was quite nigh, he was thinking of any lifeline that he could grasp. Maybe they're holding a true Pill King convention, not a trap to ferret spies. Shangguan Yulin's mind cooked up a fantasy to avoid reality, praying that luck hadn't left him completely. Let me be eliminated and come out alive. At worst, he'd fail and Zhuofan get the credit. There's plenty of chances to get recognition. Must have patience. Unaware his jittery and anxious attitude gave him away in Bailey Jingwei's eyes. Ha ha ha, this guy is shaking in his boots. Bailey Jingwei said, "Begin." The flames were burning hot as the finals started. Shangguan Yulin had to sigh and take out his flame as well. While the candidates gave their all one last time, Zhuofan and Shangguan Qingyan were cruising through the manor with a couple guards showing the way. "Brother, does the Grand Flying Cloud Manor only have these lame sceneries? So boring." Isn't there anything worth seeing here, a feast for eyes? Zhuo Fan asked a guard. He had his own goals: separate from Shengguan clans, the Whirlwind Tunnel. The guard frowned. So there is one. Come on, can't you take me to it? Zhuo Fan was giddy at his reaction, thinking he scored. The views of Flying Cloud Manor must be spectacular. The guard shook his head. Sir Gu, it is forbidden to go there. Only by Sword King's authorization can. Forbidden? All the more reason. Zhuo Fan was thinking how to get past this problem when a very familiar voice sounded. Leave, I'll take Grandmaster Gu to enjoy it. Chapter 885, Old Friend. Chapter 885, Old Friend. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shuddering, Zhuo Fan was rooted in place. Looking back, he saw a dry smile and a pair of teasing eyes. What the hell is Dan Qingshan doing here? Frowning hard, Zhuo Fan's heart was racing. This coot knows who I am. What am I supposed to do if he exposes me? The fact Dan Qingshan started off with Grandmaster Gu showed he had no intention of doing that, for now at least. He breathed easier. Zhuo Fan calmed himself after that analysis. Yes, Sword King sir. The guards obeyed, leaving at once. Dan Qingshan held his beard, content that Zhuo Fan was here. But Shengguan Qingyan was stumped. You're the Sword King, Shengguan Feiyan. You look nothing the part. So old too. Ugh. Dan Qingshan shook and chuckled. Young miss, Central Area's Sword Star Empire has 9 Sword Kings. Shengguan Feiyan isn't the only one, ha ha ha. 9 Sword Kings. Then you're Dragon-Cleaving Sword King, Dan Qingshan. With a grin, Dragon-Cleaving Sword King announced himself. Shengguan Qingyan was frightened, her heart sinking. Why is there another Sword King in Flying Cloud City? It was bad enough dealing with Shengguan Feiyan, needing them to be very cautious, but now there was another one just like him around. Would their ambush work the second time? Shengguan Qingyan looked white as paper. Zhuo Fan spoke in a way to ease her worries but also get her to go away. Cousin, are you still angry? Can't you accept that you can't just waltz wherever? This is Flying Cloud Manor, not your backyard. Shengguan Qingyan squinted at him, only to see his look. Then he touched her cheek. Look at your pretty face. Being sour is ruining it. Shengguan Qingyan was enlightened. The sudden appearance of Dan Qingshan had her make weird faces, giving her away. Zhuo Fan was watching her back. So, acting angry, she twisted away with a pout. Zhuo Fan's warm touch lingered on her cheek, making her blush at once. Dan Qingshan raised an eyebrow, picking up on his meaning and chuckling. Ha ha ha, young miss, don't be cross with Grandmaster Gu. I may be just another guest in the Flying Cloud Manor, but at least everyone knows to show respect. Look, take my token and you'll get to go wherever you want and stroll the manor how you like it, ha ha ha. Dan Qingshan took a metal brand, with the Dan character carved in it. Shengguan Qingyan peeked at Zhuo Fan. Dragon-Cleaving Sword King cares for you. Go ahead, take it. Play around, but not go overboard. You better bring that token back in 1 hour. Zhuo Fan looked like a big bro looking after his baby sister, ruffling her hair. Shengguan Qingyan nodded and said thanks before leaving in joy. But she still took a glance behind, at Zhuo Fan, to tell him to be careful. He would be alone with a Sword King. Caution was a must. Not that she needed to know Zhuo Fan and this Sword King had met before. The third will here was her, also why Zhuo Fan found an excuse to get rid of her and Dan Qingshan played along. She wanted to stay, but the two worked together to get rid of the extra, though she didn't know that, and probably never would. Her thought was she might expose them with her reaction, so Zhuo Fan had used this excuse to get her act together. Zhuo Fan sighed, easing up. Dan Qingshan eyed him hard with amusement. What, is someone watching you? What makes you so sure, senior? Zhuo Fan glanced with a chuckle. Dan Qingshan shook his head. How else do you explain finding an excuse to send her away? Ha ha ha, boy, you're still up to your old tricks. You shoot her while faking concern, when you're using her for your own greed. Though you better watch out and not let greed be the end of you one of these days. Thanks for the compliment. That was a warning. Dan Qingshen's eyes flashed. The girl is from Shengwan clan. Better keep your distance. Oh, you know this too? Ha ha ha, the only one with the nerve to just waltz in here is Shengwan clan. Dan Qingshen spat. From the girl's attitude, I could tell she's hiding something. Bailey Jingwei would have singled her out with one look if it weren't for you covering for her. Zhuo Fan gasped, you mean Sword Star Empire's wisest man, the Prime Minister Bailey Jingwei? He's here in Flying Cloud City too. Not just that, but the host of the Pill King convention. Dan Qingshen smiled, you two have even met, and he looked quite eager to get you back to the imperial capital. Though he's quite suspicious in nature and only if you're not a Shengwan clan spy. Zhuo Fan paused, then gasped, oh, it's that guy. I just knew his demeanor wasn't fit for a steward of the manor. So he's the Prime Minister. No wonder he's so familiar with Zhuge Changfeng, ha ha ha. You're still laughing. Dan Qingshen rolled his eyes and sighed, kid, Bailey Jingwei is shrewd and sharp. Capable of twisting the board and manipulating everything. You got lucky to fall under his radar, but he's bound to grow suspicious in a couple of days. That's when there'll be no escape from his sight. Zhuo Fan nodded, I know that much. I've heard quite a lot about him ever since I came to the central area. He sure looks the part now that I saw him. Though it won't take nearly as long, in just a couple hours he'll know who I am. Oh, my Gu name and connection with Shengwan clan. What? Dan Qingshen shuddered and cried out, in 2 hours? How are you so sure? Zhuo Fan shrugged, because I saw how he closed the net. The Pill King convention is only in name, as he found excuses to throw away the real alchemists and let the spies around. Oh, old Dan, did you know Shengwan clan sent 2 spies? I'm the sub while the main is in the net, awaiting capture. I reckon Bailey Jingwei will get him in 2 hours and, by extension, expose me. Why are you so calm? Dan Qingshen was stunned, not even I can save you if Bailey Jingwei finds out about you. Zhuo Fan chuckled, Senior, I didn't know you cared so much. I'm truly touched. Who the hell would? It's because of our once friendly dealings. I just don't want you to come to an abrupt end, is all. Dan Qingshen huffed. Zhuo Fan shook his head, Senior sides with me I see. I'm relieved, ha ha ha. I just don't get what's going through that head of yours. I may side with you, but I have no say in this place. No worries, Senior, I'll be safe and sound. Grinning, Zhuo Fan said, I've already thought it out. Judging by his nature, Bailey Jingwei cherishes talent beyond question. I showed my hand just now to make him sorry about offing me. On top of that, me and the Shengwan clan met by chance, giving enough room to wiggle me out. So you tell me, will he still kill me? Dan Qingshen huffed, haha, you sure are confident. Bailey Jingwei is known to be harsh and decisive. One moment he's smiling and the other he's a devil. Confidence can lead to conceit, falling right into his hands. Not likely. When killing someone, it is either out of emotion, like strong hatred, or having the grounds to do it. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed all-knowingly, my excuse will be emotion, and if that is not enough to budge him, the logical reason he's using is to catch Shengwan clan. He wants the big fish, not just the spy. Getting the spy is only the first phase of his plan. And since he wants to use me, there's no need to spill blood. Ha ha ha. Squinting, Dan Qingshen stared at him for long then shook his head, you're as twisted as that Bailey Jingwei. What if he loses it and wants to kill you, what then? Then I'll be in Senior's care. Zhuo Fan paused and showed a crafty look and a sly smile. Chapter 886, 5 People. Chapter 886, 5 People. Proofreader, Papatonks. Startled, Dan Qingshen pointed at his nose, me? How am I to save you? Like I said, we're not that close, merely getting along. There's nothing to make me risk so much just for you. You know very well that behind me there's... Yeah, I know. I've been hearing things ever since I entered Central Area. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Old Dan fought with invincible sword, beaten and thrown down in merely 5 moves. Dan Qingshen's glared at him. Is that how you see a duel of experts, a beatdown between thugs? Pretty much. That's its meaning and that's how it spread, thus, that's how I heard it, he. Zhuo Fan's went stern the next second, but it's because of this fight that old Dan had to become one of the 9 sword kings of Sword Star Empire, dragon-cleaving sword king. Behind you are countless innocent lives of your homeland. Old Dan is a kind man and won't want them to suffer. This is why the Sword Star Empire caught you. Dan Qingshen's eyes shook and sighed in pain. I have long said what was the point of being best in Western lands. You're still at another's whim in the Central Area. I'm glad I didn't take the vaulting sword with me, or Western lands would have been defenseless against the invincible sword. Maybe the whole Western lands would have rose up to get that divine weapon back like Shangguan clan did, ha ha ha. Oh, by the way, why are you with the Shangguan clan? Have you come for the soaring sword as well? Dan Qingshen's aged face looked mournful, but recovered soon after, giving Zhuo Fan a weird look. Zhuo Fan shook his head. It's just happened. My goal and theirs differ. I'm not interested in the soaring sword, haha. Shangguan clan's fate is of no concern to me either. It's good you're not tied with them, because the Shangguan clan is now stuck. Dan Qingshen looked at the blazing sky, where the Pill King Convention's final round was being held. Shangguan Feiyun and Bailey Jingwei are working together, leaving no room for the Shangguan clan to escape this quagmire. Birds of a feather flock together. Drifting about, it's hard to find a familiar face. I've been coming to enjoy your friendship, Zhuo Fan, and I'd hate for anything to happen to you. Zhuo Fan stared at his honest look and nodded. I'll be all right. Then I'm relieved. Dan Qingshen patted his shoulder. I came here to confirm whether you were in danger or not. But seeing you so confident shows me it's nothing. Just like back in Double Dragon Gathering, practicing what you preach, with everything in the palm of your hand. But there will always be incidents, and when the time comes and you're in real danger, I'll do all I can to help you. Zhuo Fan grumbled, then whispered in his ear. Dan Qingshen gasped. That can save you? It should. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed, his smile oozing confidence. Though it'll hardly happen, ha ha ha. Meanwhile, in the clearing behind the manor, as the last towering flame was snuffed out, the candidates had finished their pill making. The guards went first and placed the pills in 2 piles. Only this time, one was made up of top and perfect pills, shiny and smooth, evident of the alchemist's broad experience, 32 pills in total. While the other had average and low pills, with feeble aura, and looking crude. Any untrained eye would call them amateur work, if not duds. And this pile came from only 5 people. With a wide grin, Bailey Jingwei pointed at the 5 pills, cast them out. 4 sighed and lamented their luck. While only 1 relaxed, Shangguan Yulin. Cast out means I get to walk. There was no need for guards to lend a helping hand as the 5 left by themselves. The remaining candidates watched on with glee at their misfortune. Useless. Vermin mixed with true alchemists like us should have been removed from the start. Bailey Jingwei waved and the guards grabbed them before they get too far. Everyone jerked. Congratulations, you are the finalists. Welcome to the Imperial Capital. Please wait in the parlor. Bailey Jingwei clasped his hands and gestured with a smile. The winners were ecstatic, cheerfully leaving with the guards, but not before giving the 5 losers one last taunting look. Bailey Jingwei turned to the 5 with a cold look. Shangguan Feiyun froze. Taking a casual sip of tea, Bailey Jingwei had a vague smile. People, do you know why I wanted you to stay? Please enlighten us, Prime Minister. They all shivered. Bailey Jingwei flicked his hand and threw their pills on the ground with disgust. You can make 8th grade pills, so why can't you even make a top 7th grade? The 5 looked at each other in silence. I'll tell you, it's because you don't have the basics of alchemy, to the point you just crammed in over a short period of time. Shuddering, Shangguan Yulin was sweating buckets. Bailey Jingwei gave him a creepy smile. With the Crown Prince's serious situation, I'd understand if you made a lower grade, since all of it is based on one's basics. But your skills show you're posing as top alchemists, wanting to slink in. Getting you to heal the Crown Prince will be the same as harming him. Who'd be responsible? You have lied to me and lied to His Majesty. You deserve death. Prime Minister, spare us, please. We didn't mean to. With such a huge crime dumped on their heads, the five lost their reasoning, falling to their knees and pleading. Shangguan Yulin was scared to death, horror gripping his heart. He was a Shangguan clan spy, and getting killed because of this was a serious blow to his illustrious name. Bailey Jingwei grinned, giving Shangguan Feiyin a look. Shangguan Feiyin took a deep breath and said, "Get up. Even though death should be your only reward, I'm willing to give you a chance. If you can answer one question of mine, I'll pardon you." "Thank you, sir, thank you." The five bowed at once. Shangguan Feiyin muttered, then began, "You might not know, but I've been hailed as a mighty talent since young. My power was outstanding, getting the attention of great experts from Eastern lands. I've always been the best among my peers, ultimately rising to become the best in Eastern lands." The five were baffled. Where's Sword King going with this? Where's the question? Sinking into his memoirs, Shangguan Feiyin had forgotten his audience. Despite outstanding and matchless, when it came to the clan head seat, father was biased towards my elder brother, giving it to him and not me. Saying something like my nature was skewed, detrimental to the clan. Humph, which expert isn't skewed? From that moment, I left the clan, taking another path, Shangguan clan branch. Yes, my bloodline is the true Shangguan clan, representing its true power. Would you say so? The four looked at each other lost. Is that the question? Ain't this too easy? Who didn't know to smooch another's rear? They did it all the time. They bobbed their heads, yes, yes. It's good you realize it. Shangguan Feiyin said, "Then let me ask you this. When the yearly memorial of our ancestors is held, how many incense are lit and how long will the washing last?" Ugh! They five were stumped. How the hell are we supposed to know about Shangguan clan's tradition? I bet not even the Eastern lands know. That's your affair, not outsiders. Is this a trick question, or what? Clueless as a newborn chick that this pardon wasn't for them, but for Shangguan clansmen. The question was given to avoid rash action and ruin everything for the spy. Also, the memorial of ancestors was a big thing in any clan. Shangguan Feiyin asked it so it fit his story and to make Shangguan clansmen easier to switch sides. When a man was asked to betray, he was asked to forsake the clan, forsake one's ancestors. But by admitting it here and now that you were a spy, you wouldn't be a traitor, just siding with another branch. Shangguan Feiyin was a big shot of the Shangguan clan in the end. Who was to say which branch was the true one and which one the fake? By using this cryptic logic, with life and death hanging by a thread, it was the easiest to break the enemy's will. It was also a mind game cooked up by Bailey Jingwei, so the enemy had no way of noticing it. Sipping tea still, Bailey Jingwei's eyes glittered as he watched the five, especially the shaken-up Shangguan Yulin. Chapter 887, Exposed Again. Chapter 887, Exposed Again. Proofreader, Papatonks. Bailey Jingwei stood up, his creepy grin driving fear into the five, stopping before the first man. "This is your chance. It all comes down to your fortune if you can grasp it. Speak. What is your answer to Sword King Feiyin's question?" Bailey Jingwei's sharp eyes glanced at him and roared. The man was on the verge of crying, pleading, "Prime Minister, Sword King, I'll never pretend again. I was just trying to seek my luck by omitting some things. I didn't mean to commit such a crime." "Then you should treasure this chance more." Bailey Jingwei glared at the wronged guy. "Answer Sword King's question and we'll let you go." Even as he was sweating bullets and shaking like a leaf, He still put on a grieving look. Sirs, I really don't know. I would never lie to you. Please spare my poor life, great sirs. The guy looked so feeble, so fragile, so victimized. Bailey Jingwei turned to Shengguan Feiyun, who shook his head. Shengguan Feiyun hooked his finger and the man in question exploded in a shower of blood and gore out of nowhere. The blood splashed everywhere, especially on the other four, soaking them to the bone. The four shuddered. Feeling the slick and warm blood trickling down their faces, some of them even soiled themselves. Just one question, that was all it took for a perfectly fine, and alive, man to be reduced to a pulp. The dread shook the remaining survivors to the core. Ignorance is a sin. Who's to blame for not even answering Sword King's simple question? Bailey Jingwei shook his head as the blood spread on the ground, and walked to the second one. He pulled his shoulder with a grin. Well, do you know? Paw! Bailey Jingwei's hand felt like the whole world was on his shoulder. His knees softened, his legs felt like jelly, ready to crumble. Luckily Bailey Jingwei was there to hold him straight. Alas, that did not stop the wet feeling coming from his pants. Frowning, Shengguan Feiyun shunned him and held his nose in anger. Bailey Jingwei laughed. Ha ha ha, afraid? Great, that shows you value life. As you know, you only get to live once. Knowing its value means getting to enjoy living. Now that's wisdom. Brother, a wise guy like you should know the right answer. Don't disappoint me. Right. Gulping loudly, the guy shook and bobbed his head. His eyes darted all over for the answer. Coming to a decision at long last, he gnashed his teeth. Screw it all. Since I'll die anywhere, I might as well go down fighting. The man took a deep breath and cupped his hands in confidence as he roared, Prime Minister, Sword King, for Shengguan clan's ancestral memorial, there will be 4 incense and bathing for an hour. Startled, Bailey Jingwei was half believing he got his spy from his confident look, so he deferred to Shengguan Feiyun. But the man shook his head. Bastard! You dare lie with a straight face? You almost had me. I just knew there'll be wise guys clinging to life to such extremes. That's why I had Shengguan Feiyun giving a question only his clan can answer, or you might have lied your way out. Rolling his eyes, Bailey Jingwei walked right past him. Wrong? But isn't it 3 bows to elders and 4 to those who passed? Everyone gives 4 incense to their ancestors. Isn't an hour enough to wash oneself clean? That should be enough respect for the dead. Bam! The guy figured his lie was wrong and started running his mouth for the right answer. But since he wasn't the target, just collateral, Shengguan Feiyun had no remorse in snapping his finger to repeat the previous gory display once more. As the sickening splash and foul smell of blood assaulted the 3 survivors, they were paralyzed in fear. 2 of them had no chance of getting the answer right, falling in the pits of despair. We can't even lie our way out. Only Shengguan Yulin hesitated while sweating. As a valued member of the Shengguan clan, he knew all too well about the answer. If he said it, it proved he was a spy and the enemy would use him. But if he kept his mouth shut, he saw with his own eyes the sordid fate awaiting him when his 2 friends paved the way in blood. To die another day or suffer now? That was the question. It was a choice he didn't want to make in his life, or with his life on the line. He was now at the cruelest point in a man's life. Regardless of the choice, death was at its end. Looking at the remaining 3, Shengguan Yulin's behavior was all the more obvious. Bailey Jingwei mocked and walked next to him. He froze like a statue. Keep your hair on, ha ha ha. Patting his shoulder, Bailey Jingwei smiled like a fox. Brother, you saw your brothers go ahead, right? Life is so precious, but they just didn't know how to treasure it. What a shame. There must be so many things they wanted to do, but alas, that ship has sailed. You, my friend, are next. Who knows, maybe 3rd time's the charm and might actually know the answer. Or maybe I'm expecting too much, and you'll just be walking in their bloody footsteps. How about this? If you have any last wish, let me hear it. I'll do everything in my power to fulfill it. It's the least I could do for a handsome chap like me, ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei was mocking but also slipping triggers inside his speech, all to incite his will to live. Everyone died, that was life. But dying bitter or at peace differed. The former would leave you hateful while the latter brought you solace. But a flamboyant and vigorous young master like Shangguan Yulin was bound to have plenty of last wishes. Now that Bailey Jingwei reminded him and woke him up from the crippling fear, he realized he wanted so much more in life. He had yet to be the leader of Shangguan clan, he didn't get his cousin either. How could he die without rhyme nor reason? Bailey Jingwei's sharp gaze picked up on his conundrum and capitalized, a handsome and talented young master. Only to die in vain, what a pity. Such a death is like a feather swallowed in the waves of the endless ocean, gone from the people's minds. The things you wanted will become others. Isn't it tragic, for you to die and for others to enjoy your aspirations? Shangguan Yulin shook, his heart sinking. Why the hell should I die? He was Uncle's real nephew. Dying would lead to successful mission, but it would not be him who would be Uncle's right hand, but that profiteering fake nephew, who would get his cousin and rise to the top. Why should I give my life for others to gain fortune? The image of Zhuo Fan, Shangguan Qingyan and Gu Santong, one happy family, was burned in his mind. They would be perfect and live a life of joy, all thanks to his corpse. Shangguan Yulin's eyes were bloodshot with rage. Bailey Jingwei grinned, Sword King Feiyun is a direct descendant of the Shangguan clan. When we attack Eastern lands, he'll be the lord of Eastern lands, of course, as the rightful ruler of Shangguan clan. Sword King Feiyun did not forget about his clansmen, each year holding a memorial for his ancestors. All he wishes is for the glory of the Shangguan clan. If a young clansman were to come to him, he'd be welcomed with open arms. Nephew Shangguan Yulin greets uncle. Seeing Shangguan Yulin about to cave and his guard lowered, Bailey Jingwei struck at his heart with guile. Until Shangguan Yulin fell victim to his desires, and to his knees. Bailey Jingwei and Shangguan Feiyun were overjoyed. They got their spy. And for this guy to say uncle, that meant he was clan head's nephew as well. They got one big catch. Chapter 888, A Turncoat's Options. Chapter 888, A Turncoat's Options. Proofreader, Papatonks. Shangguan Feiyun's eyes bore down on the kneeling Shangguan Yulin with an excited heart, ready for the final test. In case he's just another frickin' coward that spews anything to cling to his puny life. You're saying you're my nephew, is it? Then you should be aware of the memorial held each year by the Shangguan clan. Absolutely. Shangguan Yulin's eyes flashed, reporting, Uncle, Shangguan clan's yearly memorial burns 36 incenses, for the 36 clan heads before that defended eastern lands, the Shangguan clan, and gave their lives for it. Bathing will take 24 hours the entire day before one shows respect to his ancestors, with the idea of the 36 heavenly cycles in mind to pray for their blessings. Shangguan Feiyun shook and laughed, ha ha ha, well done. Only a Shangguan clansman knows true respect. No outsider will know we hold a memorial for 36 ancestors. Does that mean we found our spy? Bailey Jingwei grinned, while Shangguan Yulin tensed and shrunk. Bailey Jingwei helped him up with a kind smile, young Master Shangguan, relax, we've gone through such trouble to find you so you could guide us. It's only a matter of time before the Shangguan clan will be under Sword King Feiyun's rule. To receive his help so early is your fortune. Moreover, you said you're Sword King Feiyun's nephew. Being so close is bound to bring splendor in young master's future. Shangguan Feixiong and the others shunned me, but I'm still part of the Shangguan clan. As long as any member is willing to come to me, I will look after them, especially when it comes to my dear nephew. Is your mother perhaps? Shangguan Feiyun was more amiable now. Shangguan Yulin bowed, reporting his entire life to the man. Shangguan Feiyun exclaimed, oh, so you're Sister Yuheng's child. It truly has been ages. We were so close in those days, ha ha ha. Mother has talked about how she misses uncle. Ha ha ha. Shangguan Yulin used the perfect moment to grab his lifeline. Shangguan Feiyun nodded. Bailey Jingwei smiled at the exchange. Sword King Feiyun, it's truly a rare occasion for an uncle to rejoin with his nephew, but before we can delve deeper into the memory lane, I will have to ask young Master Shangguan if you have any other clansmen among these two? Glancing at the quivering messes, the two gave begging looks. They knew now this was a chance for Shangguan clansmen. As long as they became one as well, they'd see tomorrow. So the two made doe eyes at Shangguan Yulin. He was their only hope in this abyss. Prime Minister sir, the Shangguan clan doesn't have filth. Shangguan Yulin spoke in a cold tone. The two's legs gave from under them, falling paralyzed and in despair. Bailey Jingwei nodded and said, Sword King sir, the previous act was to find young Master Yulin. Since he's the only one, take them away. No, that will mean they'll leak this event. When Shangguan Feixiong finds out, he'll hunt me down. Haha, no worries, young Master Yulin, I'll be sure to have men look after you. Take them away and let them go. Bailey Jingwei waved. The two nodded with hope. Shangguan Yulin frowned, his head shaking anxiously, you can't. I can't have peace as long as they live. Only the dead can hold a secret. Shangguan Yulin struck before the other two spoke again, taking their lives. The two peak ethereal stage cultivators were scared to death just moments ago. This gave this fresh soul harmony stage cultivator the chance to kill them easily. Bailey Jingwei squinted. Shangguan Yulin gave them an awkward look as he bowed, Uncle, Prime Minister, forgive me for overstepping. Ha ha ha, lighten up. It's I who was too nice. Young Master Yulin did well. Bailey Jingwei chuckled and turned serious, Young Master, now that you have Sword King Feiyun's support, can you tell us your purpose here? Shangguan Yulin nodded, completing his betrayal by revealing Shangguan Feixiong's entire plan. Bailey Jingwei smiled, just like I thought, they're ready for a second assault. That means they'll all work as one, and not scatter. Then where you're staying in Flying Cloud City is Eastern Gate's Gu household. Shangguan Yulin's eyes shone, his voice steady. Bailey Jingwei mumbled, Gu household. That does sound familiar. Of course it is, Prime Minister, since it is the house of the same guest you honored today, Gu Yifan. What? Bailey Jingwei shook, Grandmaster Gu is one of you. But Sword King Feiyun said your clan isn't great with alchemy. How can you have someone like him? Him, one of us. As if. Humph, he's nothing but a frickin', Shangguan Yulin gnashed his teeth at his mere mention, spilling everything once again, warning for good measure at the end, Prime Minister sir, Gu Yifan is also Shangguan clan's spy, even if my sub. You must erase him before he reports back. Sub? You're the sub if you ask me. Bailey Jingwei glanced over and shook his head with a sad gaze. Grandmaster Gu, a truly rare talent, was now an enemy. At the very least, he and Shangguan clan aren't that close, only making use of each other. This gives me room to work with and use him. Bailey Jingwei came back from his machinations with a smile, Young Master Shangguan, you've done your uncle, Sword King Feiyun, a great service and revealed a great weakness to me. I wanted to bring Grandmaster Gu to the imperial capital, having no caution around him at all. Please accept this bow from me, young master, for opening my eyes. Bailey Jingwei bowed. Shangguan Yulin helped him up at once, though he looked prideful. See, the great Bailey Jingwei is bowing to me. Ain't I awesome, or what? Shangguan Feiyun snickered. Prime Minister, how are you going to kill him? Should I do it? Shangguan Yulin looked way too eager to dole out violence, but then he thought about it and said, just that the miss next to him is my cousin. Allow me to take care of her, Prime Minister. Don't harm her, I vow that she won't hinder you. Bailey Jingwei read him like a book, young master must admire that miss. Shangguan Yulin blushed and gave a weak nod. Ha ha ha, sure, since she's with young master, I won't touch her. Bailey Jingwei promised. Shangguan Feiyun promised, the hostility between my brother and me won't spread to a helpless girl, especially one such as my niece. Shangguan Yulin eased. Then, when will you strike against that Gu punk? We need him to live for a while longer. Bailey Jingwei denied. What? Shangguan Yulin panicked. Why? After the Pill King convention, his name will reach far and wide. If anything happens to him, it will send alarms. Bailey Jingwei smirked. Besides, we still need him to report back to the Shangguan clan. What do you need him to report? I can do it as well. Slapping his chest, Shangguan Yulin showed that what Shua Fan could do, so could he. Bailey Jingwei sized him up then shook his head. Young Master Yulin, this you must not, because you've been eliminated out of the competition. I have. Yes, how else are you to watch Shangguan Feixiong's every move? Bailey Jingwei showed a sly grin. I thought Shangguan clan would only send one spy and planned on passing you to help Flying Cloud Manor. But now, since there's two of you, it will turn out far better. Besides giving the Shangguan clan the information I want, I'll also know what they're doing. Any slight delay will lead to different plans of action. That's why I decided to have Gu Yifan report back and you watch Shangguan Feixiong and read his doubts. This will make my plan of attack all the more precise. Understand? Chapter 889, To Each with Their Own Greed. Chapter 889, To Each with Their Own Greed. Proofreader, Papatunks. Squinting, Shangguan Yulin spoke hesitantly. You know Shangguan clan is staying at Gu household, so why not attack? Why? Ha ha ha, young Master Yulin, you still don't get my idea. Bailey Jingwei smirked. Shangguan clan has many experts. Even if we attack, they'll scatter and we'd hardly get any of them. But even if we do, experts aren't so quick to give in. By setting traps around the household, they'll soon notice as well. This leaves the best solution to use the manor. We'll take adequate precautions so once they come in, they'll never get out. Shuddering, Shangguan Yulin gasped, You want to kill them all? Ha ha ha, it does sound greedy when you say it like that. You either do it right or not do it at all. After sipping his tea, Bailey Jingwei smirked. Most of Shangguan clan's strength will be crushed here and thus weaken eastern lands. As the sole survivor of this disaster, you'll be our eyes and ears inside the eastern lands. This will be its downfall. When Sword King Feiyun will rule it, young master will become the first minister, showered in endless glory. Getting some cousin couldn't be easier. It's all up to you what image suits you. You can be the grieving hero or a sufferer as you become Sword King Feiyun's right hand. I can make it happen. I can make it so you will have the right to embrace any girl you want without repercussions. Shangguan Yulin's brow shook, betraying his excitement. Bailey Jingwei peeked at him and continued, Young master, to the survivor goes everything. Regardless of morality and name, it's at the whim of the winner. History is written by the victor. So young master need not be concerned that the death of these Shangguan experts will label you a traitor of eastern lands because we have the power to make you its hero. Everyone will bow at your feet, even your cousin. If you keep this secret, we won't speak a word of it either. Bailey Jingwei's name as Prime Minister of the Sword Star Empire wasn't just for show. He could read Shangguan Yulin like a book, twist his words and paint a fantastic future the clueless youth would get lost in. The kid knew that an attack on Gu household would result in heavy losses on Shangguan clan's side, but his uncle and the Venerables were too strong to be captured. Not even if Shangguan Feiyun was included. Bailey Jingwei wanted them all gone, an entirely different problem. Not to mention, Shangguan Feixiong was his uncle who looked after him since young, as well as his cousin's father. If one day Shangguan Qingyan learned that her father's death had something to do with him, her hatred would know no bounds. But now, Bailey Jingwei's intricate speech hit home, right at his core. Weren't you scared of being found out and end up shamed for your betrayal? Well, we have a solution. You'll not only be worry-free, but gain all the glory too. Ain't that a good deal? The best. Shangguan Yulin's mind made instant peace with his betrayal, all under the cover of fame and fortune, willing to become the devil's right hand. Without blame or guilt, men would be damned for all eternity. He was still caught up in that fantasy of his and oblivious that once Bailey Jingwei helped him rise, he could also crush him as well. Having your weakness exposed tended to do that. You would be nothing more than his puppet, the whole point to the saying, one mistake lead to ruin. The only chance of overcoming it was by embracing it, facing it head-on, or forever be bound by it. Or maybe it was simpler than that. He might have figured it out, just that he was looking for excuses to let Bailey Jingwei use him. Since being used meant Bailey Jingwei needed him alive. At the heart of all his desire, it was not fame, glory, uncle or even cousin, but himself. That settles it, young Master Yulin. Bailey Jingwei cupped his hands at Shangguan Yulin with a smile. The youth replied in kind and left. Bailey Jingwei finally showed his disdain once he was gone, hypocrite. Also beyond selfish. Shangguan Feiyun added, looking at the extra blood around, misery loves company. Even if there's no friendship involved, there's no rush to finish them off. More like he's too scared to lose his puny life. Bailey Jingwei nodded. I never planned on letting them leave, only testing your cousin's character. And what a test. This guy is a good pawn, but not trustworthy. Guard, have someone watch the Gu household. That guy in particular. Yes, sir. The guard obeyed. Shangguan Feiyun called before he left, and that cousin of his. Since he thinks of himself a lover, then let's give him a shameless reason to give his life for us, ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei nodded, good one, Sword King Feiyun, but there's some things I wish Sword King would clarify for me. Prime Minister, there's no need for such a courteous tone. Please speak. Sword King sir, are you that close to his mother? Shangguan Feiyun's mouth twitched and mocked, the hell I am. She's always been a shrew, that one, and a tomboy. The mere sight of her annoyed me. Who knew she'd have a son? Humph, the guy who had her must be one poor devil to deal with all that craziness. Ha ha ha, Sir Sword King is quite the actor, making yourself a friend of the dead. Bailey Jingwei chuckled, then frowned in all seriousness. It's clear Grandmaster Gu is only stopping over in the central area, but I never consider him to be tied to Shangguan clan. At least they're not too close. I have to get him on my side. It'll be such a loss to this world for a Grandmaster to die along with these rats. My heart would bleed. Bailey Jingwei sighed as he walked towards the manor. Shangguan Feiyun followed. Prime Minister sure loves talent. 15 minutes later, one old man and a youth were casually sipping tea in a gazebo close to the manor. No one was around to disturb them. Zhua Fan checked the sun's position and said, Old Dan, they should be finished by now. Bailey Jingwei should have gotten his spy. Don't worry though, nothing will change. I wager he'll be even more differential. Humph, like a true egomaniac. You should thank your lucky stars that he won't kill you. Dan Qingshan rolled his eyes. Laughter broke out, ha ha ha, Grandmaster Gu, dragon-cleaving Sword King, so this is where you were. You had me look all over for you. The two turned to Bailey Jingwei walking over with Shangguan Feiyun. Zhua Fan stood up and bowed, looking afraid. Prime Minister sir, forgive my early disrespect, having not realized who sir was. Grandmaster Gu, you're too modest. There's nothing to forgive, ha ha ha. Please, get up, or I'll feel guilty. Bailey Jingwei had a bright smile and looked quite respectfully at Zhua Fan. That stunned Dan Qingshan. The boy's right. Bailey Jingwei didn't mention the spy, but treated him even more courteously than before. Does Bailey Jingwei even know who he really is? It's like two weasels are fighting to better the other. Zhua Fan was quite humble as he noticed Shangguan Feiyun, sir is. He is the lord here, Sword King Shangguan Feiyun. Bailey Jingwei introduced. Shaking, Zhua Fan gasped and bowed again, Sword King Feiyun sir, forgive me, forgive me. It's fine. Sir can rise. Shangguan Feiyun helped him. Straightening his clothes, Zhua Fan beamed, ha ha ha, I'm a mere radiant stage cultivator but actually got to meet two Sword Kings and the Prime Minister in one day. I've never been more excited in my life. Prime Minister, when Sir Dragon Cleaving Sword King said he was defending his home, he almost shocked me to death. I'm truly ashamed. Dan Qingshan frowned in silence. This boy's acting is out of this world. Even I'd buy into his role if I didn't know his ruthless nature. Ha ha ha, Sir Gu is truly funny. Come, sit. Bailey Jingwei laughed and started, not letting him make a fool of himself, but also quite appreciative of him. By the looks of it, Grandmaster Gu is a simple man who only knows alchemy. Shangguan Yulin was right, the Shangguan clan made him a spy and he's unrelated to them at all. Shangguan Feiyun and he shared a nod. This neophyte spy was the best pawn to use and implement their counter. As smiles traced beneath the gazebo, each hiding their greed and plans. Chapter 890, Flawless. Chapter 890, Flawless. Proofreader, Papatonks. In a quaint little gazebo behind the Flying Cloud Manor, 4 people were enjoying the good life, laughing and chatting to their full content like old pals. The totally harmonious mood felt surreal to the lass watching them, see cousin. Pausing, the 4 put down their teacups and turned towards the newcomer, Shangguan Qingyan. Shangguan Qingyan looked complicated at the uncle she never saw before. Oh, Grandmaster Gu's cousin, Miss Gu. Ha ha ha, come, please sit. Shangguan Feiyun looked at his panicking niece without exposing her, merely pointing at the chair next to him. We were just having a chat with your cousin. If you don't mind it, take a seat as well. Shangguan Qingyan's brow shook. As a young miss of the Shangguan clan on her first undercover mission, she had been warned by her father and the elders many times to close her heart. But seeing the betraying uncle, she let her nervousness slip. Shangguan Feiyun and Bailey Jingwei understood at a glance and merely smiled. Shangguan Feixiong must be lacking men to send a naive child like her as spy, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan grinned inside. The appearance of Shangguan Qingyan and her reaction made her suspicious, but Shangguan Feiyun ignored it, having known everything and since Bailey Jingwei was fond of Zhuo Fan. As the 4 chatted moments before, Bailey Jingwei had tested him to ascertain the panicky reaction all newbie spies were endowed with. He did not disappoint. Thus, Bailey Jingwei lowered his guard and accommodated to this greenhorn playing spy in the big world. Shangguan Qingyan came here to cover both herself and Zhuo Fan. Shangguan Feiyun grinned and stared at her, making her tense. He laughed in the end, ha ha ha, I'm inviting her for a chat but she's just standing there looking at me in silence. Is she thinking something bad? Shangguan Qingyan panicked and sweat trickled down her brow. Shangguan Feiyun shared a look with Bailey Jingwei as the two enjoyed teasing her. Yenner, are you alright? Why the grimace? Is your illness acting up? Zhuo Fan walked to her to block her flustered face and signaling her with his eyes. Shangguan Qingyan used this chance to get away. Yes, cousin, it has been acting out and I feel weak. Help me back. Oh, sure. Take out Sword King's token. Here. Thanks. Zhuo Fan took it and rushed to the 3 to bow. Forgive me, the elements in my cousin's body are unbalanced and can only go on with pills. I'll be saying my goodbye now. Dan Qingshan nodded and accepted the token. Then I won't hold you any longer, Grandmaster Gu. Go and look after Miss Gu. Thank you. Zhuo Fan walked away. Shangguan Feiyun raised an eyebrow. Grandmaster Gu, since Miss Gu is hurting, why not heal her here? We have all the ingredients you need and Grandmaster Gu may use them at his discretion. It's fine. Zhuo Fan looked guilty and gave a silly smile. Thank you, sir, but making the pill for my cousin is complicated and takes too long to be made on the spot. I still have some at home and I need to return quickly to avoid complications. Bailey Jingwei squinted. Then we won't be delaying you, Grandmaster Gu. But sir needs to get ready. In around 5 days we'll be leaving for the imperial capital. Grandmaster Gu has to make sure Miss Gu's medicine will be accounted for on the journey as well. Stunned, Zhuo Fan gave an awkward nod then left with Shangguan Qingyan. Grandmaster Gu's words are full of suspicion. Dan Qingshan glanced at the other 2 and said, if Miss Gu has such a deadly illness, how could he leave the medicine at home? Their reactions are off too. Of course it's off, since it's hard for a couple of green spies to stay calm around us. Slipping is a given, ha ha ha. Shangguan Feiyin waved carelessly. Dan Qingshan started, you mean there? Dragon-cleaving Sword King has just missed a good play and doesn't know yet. Bailey Jingwei grinned, his eyes shining with wisdom, we have already caught one spy, who gave these two to us. Shangguan clan had sent one overt and one covert to cover all bases. However, they'd never guess regardless of spies, they've overreached, ending up playing in our palms, ha ha ha. Dan Qingshan gasped. It's going just like he said. Bailey Jingwei knows who he is but doesn't expose him. Is it out of cherishing or logic though? Dan Qingshan asked, why then did you let them walk? Well, ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei grinned, Grandmaster Gu is a man among men, a rare alchemical talent. It's such a shame to see him fade away. And the spy already told us Grandmaster Gu is hiding from his pursuit in the central area. That's how he stumbled upon the Shangguan clan and got wrapped up in this mess. He has no real ties to the clan. This will make it easy for him to be made use of in the service of the Empire, as long as his wishes are met. Dan Qingshan nodded, true, I'd do anything to make use of such a talent as well. Why not expose it and make him work for us? Won't that make him one of us for sure? Shangguan Feiyin mocked. Dan Qingshan frowned, what does that mean? Ha ha ha, Dragon-cleaving Sword King, it's like this. Scratching his nose, Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone, getting the spies is easy, but I want one to pass on my words, to get them to come and destroy them all. That man can never be Grandmaster Gu. Shangguan Feiyin nodded, as a spy, Gu Yifan is as green as it gets. He seemed calm but botched when pressed for details. If we had laid the cards on the table then, we'll be putting him in a tough spot when asked to give a fake report to the elders of Shangguan clan, giving himself away. It was better to keep him acting as their spy and provide counterintelligence. He believes we gave him real information when it's actually fake, but coming from him, the Shangguan clan will definitely buy it. It will make their destruction all the more assured. At worst, we'll just get him on our side right at the end. It's all the same. Amazing. Dan Qingshan praised. Bailey Jingwei waved casually, it's nothing praiseworthy, Dragon-cleaving Sword King. It's nothing but a little trick, ha ha ha. Dan Qingshan was silent. It's not for you, so why so smug? It's that brat who's truly great for seeing through the great Prime Minister's plan to the last detail. To the point he made sure to use emotion and logic so you won't kill him. You're now just playing in his palm. One more treacherous than the next. But what's the boy after anyway? Regardless. Dan Qingshan glanced at Bailey Jingwei and shook his head. Sir Bailey, a Prime Minister of the Empire, of your marvelous talent, is going to get it now. The same kid you're trying to use, is in fact a shrewder monster than you. Meanwhile, Zhuofan and Shangguan Qingyan left the manor and were rushing back. They looked tense and jittery. Are you nervous? Yes. Me too. The two held hands and felt the other's anxiety. While Zhuofan's was fake, Shangguan Qingyan's couldn't be more real. Chapter 891, Triumphant Hero. Chapter 891, Triumphant Hero. Proofreader, Papatonks. After a good deal of walking, Zhuofan looked back to see no one on their tail and stammered to console Shangguan Qingyan, it's fine, they don't seem to doubt us. But I'm still so nervous. Looking behind as well, Shangguan Qingyan's face was stiff and unnatural. Zhuofan rolled his eyes. Hey, Shangguan Feiyin is your uncle, so what's so scary about him? Not even I, an outsider, am scared of him. Though seeing her anxious demeanor, Zhuofan shook his head, bringing her into a hug and slowly giving her pats on the back. Feeling better now? We still need to hurry back to Uncle. You can't be seeing him like this or he won't give us any heavy missions. When he was worried Shangguan Qingyan's naive nature would give them away to Shangguan Feixiong. Raising doubts in Bailey Jingwei's presence with their acting was fake to gain their trust since they already had another spy spilling the beans and wanted them to give their report. It was the only way for him to get the two sides to duke it out so he come out as the sole winner. However, once Shangwan Feixiong sees this chick like this, he'll seriously doubt us. We even deceived them with such obvious signs. Who knew what this might lead to? Maybe the factions would fight only ages later. He didn't do it out of compassion for this wee girl, but to fit Bailey Jingwei's plan by drawing the enemy under their roof, while also gaining the Shangwan clan's trust. He was the glue tying the two fuses together, and it was his job to get rid of any reason that might split them apart. All to enact my flawless plan. The poor girl had no idea of the devious plan in the man's mind. Being hugged all of a sudden like a child and rubbing her back, made her feel warm and she started to blush. She did not hate it though, her hands sliding around Zhuofan's waist in time with his rubbing. Startled, Zhuofan froze with a weird look on his face, stopping his hand on her back. What's this chick up to? Is she making use of me in this situation? I'm consoling her, but she's out to get more out of this. How selfish. Luck had it Shangwan Qingyan did not read minds or she'd spew blood. Who's using who here, when you started it? Feeling Zhuofan get stiffer than her, Shangwan Qingyan showed a bitter smile. She took back her hands and left his embrace. Thank you, I'm much better now. Great, I'm used to doing this to young Sanzi to get him to relax. It looks to be working, ha ha ha. Zhuofan gave a dry chuckle and nodded at her recovered state, resuming their walk. Shangwan Qingyan peeked at him and muttered, you looked quite calm in front of those great people. You even smiled, like you're of the same cloth. Why then now? Was I scared? Zhuofan smiled as she finished her question, ha ha ha, I had to force myself through it or they'd found me out. My life doesn't matter, but what about young Sanzi? Like my master once said, all living things have their own path. Even the tiniest creature lives in its own mundane way. I am weak as an ant and no royalty, but to secure my life, I have to keep a straighter face than anyone. You don't believe me, touch it. Zhuofan stuck his face closer to Shangwan Qingyan and made her giggle, pushing him away in fake anger. Shangwan Qingyan then found Zhuofan much closer to her heart. Actually, you're not that insignificant, you're a rare 11th grade alchemist. If not for the Pill King convention, I'd never know your good side. What's the use? Zhuofan shook his head. In a world where only power matters, a great alchemical skill would only make you a strong faction supporter. As a radiant stage cultivator with average talent, I've gotten used to being shooed and giving me orders. While I'm not a bug in the truest sense, I do have the strength of one. Shangwan Qingyan stared into Zhuofan's bitter look and felt sad, and something peculiar that made her heart throb. Zhuofan looked vulnerable, but she saw behind it the drive to push through the suffering, to go against his own destiny, which filled her vision. Unlike her kind, who were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, Zhuofan had to work his way up. This fortitude was very attractive. Zhuofan liked to toy around or suck up to someone like a lowlife, all was done with a purpose in mind, to live on with his child. That was why he was so much calmer than her in front of the Central Area's 9 Sword Kings. Seeing him braving through hardship had moved her. Of course, that was just Shangwan Qingyan's misconception. Zhuofan was just a fallen angel upon this mortal world, of the noblest ilk, with total disregard to all so-called experts. Why would he care about some Genesis stage cultivators? Though she was right about one thing. Be it in the former or current life, Zhuofan was used to staying low and working his way up. That was why struggle was at the core of his being. Especially since he had once seen what the top offered, making fame and fortune look dull to him. All he wanted was to return to his peak. Taking a casual stroll, the lovely couple arrived home. Shangwan Qingyan grew nervous seeing the door, feeling sad their walk was so short. She never felt like this when the three of them went out having fun, making this trek all the more valuable. Zhuofan sensed nothing, going up to the door. Shangwan Qingyan stopped him from knocking. Wait. What is it? Zhuofan asked. Shangwan Qingyan gnashed her teeth. Is young Sanzi's mother still alive? Zhuofan frowned, then nodded. Do you love her? Zhuo Fan's eyes shook and gave a firm nod. Shangwan Qingyan took the lead and knocked on the door. Zhuo Fan was startled. What's with this chick and her questions? Shangwan Qingyan never looked at him and kept her head low. Gu Santong opened the door with a bored look. What took you so long? That rotten guy has returned ages ago. He, you mean cousin, right? He'll soon become your uncle, my brother. You should show him some respect and not call him names. Gu Santong's appearance washed away all of Shangwan Qingyan's troubles, hugging the pouting child and pecking him. Come, young Sanzi, let me kiss you. She put him down then went on cheerfully. Gu Santong eyed Zhuo Fan oddly. Dad, what's up with Auntie? How should I know? Rolling his eyes, Zhuo Fan paused, then started. Young Sanzi, what did you call her? Ugh. Gu Santong blushed. Auntie. Humph, you little brat, you're truly getting into your role, I see. Rubbing his little head, Zhuo Fan chuckled and went in, unaware of Gu Santong's earnest face. In the parlor, Zhuo Fan looked around to find it empty. What's going on? Did the Shangwan clan get scared of being ambushed and left? Noises came from around as Shangwan Feixiong came in with 3 elders. The other experts of Shangwan clan streamed in, a few hundreds, clapping hard and looking happy at him. Zhuo Fan felt awkward. Uncle, what? No need to say anything, we know. Shangwan Feiyan laughed. We know you're a hero that gained Shangwan Feiyan and Bailey Jingwei's trust and became their guest. Yifan, I knew you were going to pull it off, slipping into the flying cloud manner. And you've been hiding yourself well, 11th grade alchemist. If I knew, I'd only be sending you, ha ha ha. Slapping Zhuo Fan's chest hard, Shangwan Feixiong was greatly relieved by his success. Yifan, you're truly a hero to our Shangwan clan. Chapter 892, Complement the Map. Chapter 892, Complement the Map. Proofreader, Papatonks. You're too kind, uncle. It's my honor to give my services to Shangwan clan, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan waved his hands around. He might sound humble but the broad smile betrayed his thoughts. Shangwan Feixiong chuckled and shook his head. Zhuo Fan looked like was still up to his old habits, unlike their blue bloods cultivators, but he had to admit the kid had done a great merit to him. A feat no other clansman could take from him. This alone made the details unimportant. They'd be addressed in the following days anyway. Even if he had the habits of a common man, the true style of a young master would be instilled into him in the coming years, and not shame Shangwan clan. Shangwan Feixiong found Zhuo Fan all the more pleasing, laughing. The same went for the rest of the people here, all welcoming now. It was not their fault all of Shangwan clan's heroes sucked for the job and only he could do it. The step-nephew of the clan head had risked life and limb for the clan. It was strange if they didn't welcome him. Using one's life to prove oneself had that effect on people. The constant looks of disdain in the recent past had now been replaced with approval. Some had yet to even stop clapping. With a slow step, someone came behind Zhuo Fan and patted his shoulder. Zhuo Fan looked back at Shangwan Yulin. Only to find not an ounce of hostility in his eyes, even cupping his hands. Brother Gu, congratulations. Your great efforts had given the Shangwan clan stuck in despair a way forward. You have also helped me by covering my mistake. If not for you entering the manor, I, who has failed, would be condemned by the clan. Who knew how many lives would be lost as we burst into the manor blindly? Brother Gu has done a great service to the Shangwan clan not seen for thousands of years and saved so many of us. On behalf of myself and all my clansmen part of this attack, you have my deepest thanks, Brother Gu. Shangwan Yulin was tearing up and giving a low bow. His action touching, his respect commendable, earning the approval of all. Zhuo Fan sneered inside. He would have bought his act if not for already knowing this brat's twisted character. Since you want to play, let's play. Zhuo Fan's face split into a grin, blabbering as he helped him up. Cousin, don't say that. We're all in this together. We're all doing it for the Shangwan clan. There's no difference between us. It won't matter if you die, for there's me. So rest easy, ha ha ha. Ugh. Shangguan Yulin's face twitched. Did he just wish for me to die? Yifan, what nonsense are you talking about? How can he die? Aren't you all back safe and sound? Stop speaking ill in these times. Shangguan Feixiong frowned and chided. Zhuo Fan noticed his blunder and explained, No, uncle, that's not it. What I mean is I finished cousin's botched mission. Shangguan Yulin's eyes shook, his face twitching. How is this better? At least it was a presumption before, but now it's like I'm literally dead since you carried out my mission. He really wants me dead. No, uncle, I mean. Noticing Shangguan Yulin's dark face, the others chuckled at Zhuo Fan's act, making him nervous. I want to say that if the mission would have taken him from us, I would have taken it upon myself to finish it and give him peace. Shangguan Yulin was choking in rage, his chest rising with every breath, but he couldn't throttle him, not with so many witnesses. This punk is fumbling and ranting nonsense. Why did I even bother talking to him, to make myself look worse? I can't touch him now, not when he has everyone's approval for finishing the mission. Thought the punk looks like he's spewing stuff in panic, but every time he doesn't realize he always comes back to wanting me dead. Have I done anything to him to deserve this slander? Zhuo Fan was growing flustered by the minute while Shangguan Yulin held his head. Shangguan Feixiong didn't want this play to continue and said, all right, you don't need to say it. I'll speak in your stead. What you mean is that you're of the same heart with Yulin, that you both gave your all for the clan, right? Yes, that's exactly it. Zhuo Fan slapped his leg and beamed. I wanted to say that cousin deserves some of the credit, ha ha ha. Brother Gu, you're too kind. Shangguan Yulin was bashful. Shangguan Feixiong laughed. You've always been so sharp-tongued, kid, but now you're quite vague. How can you be such a downer when you're that excited? Now I know why Yenner has been so crude lately. She's been hanging out with you and you ruined her. Please forgive me, uncle, for ruining cousin. Like a child in the wrong, Zhuo Fan immediately played the victim card. Shangguan Feixiong ignored it. It's fine. As long as the heart is true, the details don't matter. Also, Yifan. Shangguan Feixiong grabbed Zhuo Fan's shoulder. I used to think taking you as my nephew was my greatest regret. I didn't think you'd help Shangguan clan so much so soon. I was right to take you in. Zhuo Fan's eyes were filled with emotion looking at his uncle. Feixiong, we're also caught by surprise with the kid's character, smarts and determination. It was the right choice in sending him on this task, ha ha ha. The three venerables threw in their 2 cents, laughing. The two rolled their eyes. These coots wouldn't have placed him as sub or put a watch on him if that was true. With Shangguan Feixiong and the venerables' approval, the rest of the clansmen were more open with Zhuo Fan. Shangguan Yulin's darkness only grew as he observed their joy. After the happy moment was gone, Shangguan Feixiong turned grave. Yifan, what have you found out while being a guest in the Flying Cloud Manor? Uncle, I wanted to explore the place, but I was accosted by Dragon Cleaving Sword King for a long time. That's why. Dragon Cleaving Sword King is here as well. Shangguan Yulin turned to Shangguan Yulin with a shocked look. Shangguan Yulin bowed. Uncle, I haven't seen a shadow of Dragon Cleaving Sword King in the manor. I did not know of this. Shangguan Feiyin nodded and sighed. Shangguan Feiyin was bad enough, now another Sword King came as well as Prime Minister Bailey Jingwei. This mission is becoming more dangerous by the second. If we can't get an idea of the area, rushing head-on will incur heavy losses, even more than last time. Everyone gave a hard nod. Don't worry, uncle, I'll be sure to scout it perfectly. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone as he declared. He didn't want the Shangguan clan's attack to fail, since it'd ruin his own operation. Shangguan Feixiong was vexed. Yulin said Bailey Jingwei will take the selected alchemists to Imperial Capital in 5 days. Do you have enough time to scout a manor so large? Yes. Someone else responded this time. Everyone turned to Shengguan Qingyan rushing inside. Shengguan Feixiong asked, Yener, you didn't even come to greet us when you came but run here now? What are you up to? Up to this. Shengguan Qingyan's brow twitched and Shengguan Qingyan giggled, spreading a sketch on the table for all to see. Shengguan Feixiong gasped, that's the map of the manor. With a smug grin, Shengguan Qingyan continued, while Dragon-Cleaving Sword King had been bothering Brother Gu, I used his token to wander the premises and assess the situation. But everything looked mostly normal, with some few places not allowing me entry even with the token. These are 5 in total, which makes me believe what we want is in one of these places. Shengguan Feixiong looked at the map and nodded, that means my task is to complement the map. Zhua Fan's eyes shone. Chapter 893, Control. Chapter 893, Control. Proofreader, Papatunks. Whoosh! In the backyard, Shengguan Yulin sneaked out a jade slip when no one was around. He made a sign and shot into the sky. As if nothing happened, he returned to his room and shut the door. Humph, Gu Yifan, laugh while you can these 2 days, under uncle and others' care, but once Shengguan Feiyun ends them, you'll go down as well, ha ha ha. The mad cackle bounced off his walls, including his desire and hatred. Not a bad idea. But will it work? A rough voice pierced the quiet room. Shengguan Yulin was still caught in his fantasy, mocking, damn right. Flying Cloud Manor aren't fools, ugh. Shengguan Yulin caught himself as a blackness swirled around him. Everything went dark, even his vision. Master. SSS. Shengguan Yulin gasped and soured. He was more than familiar with this image, or lack thereof. He met that sicko last time in the woods, but now it seemed he'd been followed back. Stuck in the same blackness once more left a bitter taste in his mouth. This place is packed with Shengguan clan experts, yet you just barge in. Can't a guy live in peace for once? Is there no safe place for me out there? Am I ever going to be free of this sicko? Shengguan Yulin whined, cursed and complained, in his mind of course, Master, what is Sir doing here? Why, you're not happy to see me? No, I'm ecstatic you treat me with such care. Shengguan Yulin put away the sour tone and switched to flattery. Zhua Fan smirked, punk, don't think for a second Shengguan clan being here will stop me from taking care of you. Humph, there's no place out there I can't enter. Yes, Sir is so amazing, I'm in awe. Bobbing his head, Shengguan Yulin kowtowed. Though his insides were bitter, finding this old sicko so able as to enter even here. This place was under Shengguan clan's supervision at all times to prevent any attack. Where Flying Cloud Manor's people would be found, and yet this old freak could just stroll right in. Don't tell me the sicko's stronger than those guys. It was better he didn't know that this sicko was next door. Ignorance was truly bliss in this case. Zhua Fan chuckled, did you get the word out? Shengguan Yulin wore a bright and dumb smile, Master, what do you mean? I don't. Bam! Zhua Fan lashed his face with the dragon tail, sending him sprawling. Humph, boy, don't be a smartass. I know your rotten character better than anyone. You have sided with Shengguan Feiyun and Bailey Jingwei today and you still try to act dumb. Master, please don't say random things. I didn't side with them at all. I'm completely innocent. Shengguan Yulin denied it all with a victimized look. The Shengguan clan knows I've been eliminated from the competition and I'm not even hurt. How could I just betray my clan? Last time I agreed with Sir since you had me beaten to an inch of my life. Shengguan Yulin completely destroyed his image by tearing up. Zhua Fan raised an eyebrow and mocked, you think I'm like your clansman, ignorant? I've seen the 3-round competition Bailey Jingwei set up from the side. The first was a 7th grade pill, testing one's patrimony. Second was doing one's best, only worded so you go easy. While on the last round, that was the true test of one's alchemy, a topic I foresaw, the making of a perfect or top pill. Ha ha ha, don't you think it'll raise an eyebrow when you can make an 8th grade but not a top 7th grade? The first 2 rounds attested to you being an 8th grade alchemist, so making a top but lower grade pill was a given. This was Bailey Jingwei's final aim. Going up but never coming down. So don't insult me by telling me you lied your way out of Bailey Jingwei's clutches. Shangguan Yulin shuddered while his insides were frozen in shock. He was completely sold by the sicko's flawless analysis, whether he had to watch or just plain guesswork. Also, Bailey Jingwei is known as the wisest man in the empire, not some brash musclehead to force you like me. Humph, he definitely struck your unsound mind at the time. What's so hard about convincing an anxious whelp anyway? Zhuo Fan berated, kid, did you already forget the vivid and heavy vow you made me? To think you're trying to fool me, haha. Nice, very nice, it seems to me I should go search for another disciple. The black area seeped with bloodlust. Shuddering, Shangguan Yulin paled and begged, Master, forgive me. I was only joking. I didn't realize Master's ingenious intellect and made a mistake. Yes, I have sided with Shangguan Feiyun, but I didn't have a choice. They threatened my life. If I hadn't given in. Fine, you betrayed Shangguan clan and not me, anyway. Why should I care? Zhuo Fan huffed, besides, I just knew you have no bone in your back when I took you. There's nothing odd about a few atrocities or a double-crossing here and there. Shangguan Yulin's face twitched. For God's sake. The sicko's mocking me. He did hold his tongue though, since he knew it was true, even if forced. I used to be such a compassionate young master back in the eastern lands, always upholding righteousness. How did it get to betraying one's roots the minute I came here? Twice even. But even if others don't know this, I'm still hurting from it. Then that punk kept on mocking me earlier and now this sicko. This has got to be the worst year of my life. Shangguan Yulin lamented his fate as he heard the mockery coming from the darkness. Unaware that the ones he was cursing were one and the same. Though it was better this way, lest he die from anger. Having been condescending enough for today, Zhuo Fan got down to business. Now why am I here bothering wasting words with you? It's for 2 reasons. You can betray anyone but your master. You still have my mark on you, so do watch out if you value your puny life. Yes, I'll hold your warning to heart. Shangguan Yulin shuddered in fear. Sneering, Zhuo Fan continued, and don't forget your promise. What's yours is mine. What the Shangguan clan wants, I also want. Yes, I'll never ever forget. Shangguan Yulin lowered his shaking head and bowed again. Zhuo Fan nodded, since you know now, next is the word you sent. Walk me through it. Yes, master. It's nothing much, just that the Shangguan clan has a rough grasp of Flying Cloud Manor, lacking in a few places. They need that punk, Gu Yifan, to scout them. Oh, a map of the manor. Grinning, Zhuo Fan said, this way the map will be complete. Disciple, make me a copy as well. Shuddering, Shangguan Yulin's eyes darted around. What's the sicko planning to do with it? Is he after the manor's things as well? Then. Shangguan Yulin squinted, his mind calculating. Then he clenched his fists and said, yes, I will have it, master. I'll leave it to you then, ha ha ha. The darkness receded, revealing the room again, but the weird laughter echoed in his ears. I'll be dropping by again when the map is finished. As the cackling faded, Shangguan Yulin revealed an icy smile. Humph, you damn freak, I'll be sure to give you a thoroughly deadly map. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan felt great lashing at Shangguan Yulin. It was oddly therapeutic, walking back to his room to see Gu Santong bored on the bed and playing with a new wooden toy. Zhuo Fan knew it wasn't from him. Did the girl give it to you? Yeah. Quite childish, I see, for a 300-year-old man. Aren't you the same? Scaring children again? Gu Santong quipped back as he played. Zhuo Fan chuckled, it's not scaring him, but controlling. While I am the connection between Flying Cloud Manor and the Shangguan clan in the open, he has 2 dark ties. I can control the Shangguan clan's actions, but he can influence Bailey Jingwei's decisions. By controlling him, I control the whole stage. Is he that happy to listen to you? Gu Santong asked. He can't be trusted. Zhua Fan nodded with a vague smile. He doesn't need to listen to me to use him. I just have to prod him in the right direction and we're set. While the two sides are at war, we'll be getting what we want and flee. And Auntie? Gu Santong spoke casually. Zhua Fan shrugged. That's Shangguan Feixiong's problem, since she's his daughter. We just need to focus on ourselves. We'll finish our end and then go to the next area. Gu Santong stiffened then sighed. Chapter 894, Sword King's Visit. Chapter 894, Sword King's Visit. Proofreader, Papatunks. The world was tranquil around one gazebo, as a stream trickled by and birds danced in the light breeze. Paradise. Bailey Jingwei, Shangguan Feiyun and Dan Qingshen were having tea here, when something flashed closer and closer. Bailey Jingwei put out his hand and a jade slip rested in it. Scanning it, Bailey Jingwei grinned at the two. The plan went perfectly. Shangguan clan doesn't suspect a thing while Shangguan Yulin had done a great job in finishing his mission, dispelling any doubts anyone might have. Who knew that feisty girl had a son so cautious and sinister? That means she must have gotten a doormat for a man, ha ha ha. Grinning, Shangguan Feiyun said, did he say what Shangguan Feixiong is planning next? Bailey Jingwei nodded, of course, it appears your niece has been going around the manor and got a grasp of the area. But there's still 5 places she couldn't go to. Now they want to have Grandmaster Gu to scout them to be safe. Humph, I see. Shangguan Feiyun sneered, I'd have opened the manor from the start if I knew this, to let them scout to their heart's content so they could attack already. It makes taking them all down faster. Bailey Jingwei shook his head, Sword King Feiyun, you're wrong. Haste makes waste. If it'd be that easy to get into Flying Cloud Manor, it would only make them more suspicious. And? Shangguan Feiyun looked him in the eye, when Grandmaster Gu arrives, the ban will still be there. With such a tiny radiant stage cultivation, he'll hardly take a step inside. He won't find anything, ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei chuckled, going by Sword King Feiyun's words, who knows when our plan will take effect. But like I said before, we'll destroy them in 2 weeks and not a day later. I don't have the time to play around Sword King Manor. I'm a busy man. Then what do you want to do? Have someone show him the way and fill in the blanks. With a confident smile, Bailey Jingwei said, starting tomorrow, we'll invite him to the manor, for fun, drinks and meals, while giving him room to finish up the map. In this process, we need to adjust our attitude, make him believe we appreciate his alchemical talent while dispelling any doubts. When the Shangguan clan makes its move, we can also contain Grandmaster Gu so the thieves won't disturb him. Shangguan Feiyun nodded and mocked, Prime Minister Bailey, you're still placing Grandmaster Gu's safety as top priority. You sure like your talents, ha ha ha. As the Empire's Prime Minister, it's only natural for the Empire to seize talents. Bailey Jingwei smiled and looked at the ever-silent Dan Qingshen, dragon-cleaving Sword King. I and Sword King Feiyun are more familiar with the Shangguan clan. It would arouse suspicion if any of us would go. I ask that Sir go tomorrow and invite Grandmaster Gu to the manor, to show my great regard for him. Dan Qingshen nodded. Meanwhile, at Shangguan clan's interim base, there were a dozen people in the 3 venerables' room. Clan head was present with the best experts his clan had, all in Genesis stage. Yet they all had shadows flitting across their faces. Rubbing his forehead, Shangguan Feixiong replied in annoyance, I didn't want to affect morale while in the parlor, and only celebrated Yifun's great success. But with all important figures of the clan here, the pillars, I must be frank. There's too many unknowns regarding this second ambush which amplifies the danger beyond our estimates. Clan head, are you referring to Bailey Jingwei and Dan Qingshen? The men all knew the source of his vexation. Shangguan Feiyun sighed, yes, they are the greatest variables to our mission. Dan Shen is the best of Western lands, Shangguan Feiyun's equal. With them working together, the manor's power just doubled. And that isn't even the worst part, since our three venerables can hold them back for a time. The crux is that Bailey Jingwei, sagely statesman, Bailey Jingwei, is cunning and devious. For almost a century now, the four lands have suffered from his tangled schemes. One venerable sighed, if he draws us into a corner and works with the two sword kings, our losses will be catastrophic. The others nodded heavily. However, Bailey Jingwei isn't like the two sword kings. In this game of chess, he is deploying the men. As the leader, he must know the other side's moves lest he comes under a surprise attack and throws his own side into confusion. Just how much does he know about our mission? Shangguan Feixiong's eyes flashed. If he's oblivious, we can use the map to assault the manor and increase our chances even with two sword kings. While the opposite is also true. Of course he knows. He's Bailey Jingwei, the wisest man in the Sword Star Empire. Nothing escapes him. I wonder about that. He came here to hold the Pill King convention and help heal the Crown Prince. He might not know about us. You mean Shangguan Feiyun wouldn't tell him? Ha ha ha, you don't understand Shangguan Feiyun. He's too prideful and arrogant. He'll never lower himself and call for help when his domain is in trouble, especially a sage. Shangguan Feixiong's words threw the room into chaos as everyone started talking. Some were for the mission now that they had such a great chance. Getting eyes and ears inside the enemy base was too rare of an occasion to pass up. While others opted to wait for Dan Shen and Bailey Jingwei to leave first, as they posed the greatest threat. Shangguan Feixiong was plagued with indecision. This choice affected the life and death of his clan's main force. It was too much for him to bear. A rash choice here would damn his clan. It led to the Shangguan clansmen arguing on, well into the evening and then into dawn. Yet they showed no signs of stopping still. Noon found Shangguan Feixiong's ears clogged with all the buzzing, but no outcome arose even now. The safe return of his spies, Shangguan Yulin and Zhuofan, proved Bailey Jingwei was none the wiser, or he'd have already caught them the minute they raised his suspicions. Shangguan Yulin assured him as well that Bailey Jingwei was only here to select alchemists to heal the Crown Prince's condition. Everything pointed to him being here for the Crown Prince and not them. Thus, Shangguan Feixiong called this meeting, to discuss how to proceed. He could never otherwise ignore someone like Bailey Jingwei appearing out of nowhere, especially when he came with the dragon-cleaving Sword King. Shangguan Feixiong has so much trust in his nephew, that he was willing to go against his principles. It was also why he was now having a headache from all the shouting. Cries came from outside that broke the noise within the room. A man burst into the room, scared to death. Clan head, there. How dare you barge into the venerable's room? We're in the middle of important talks. What the hell got you so shaken to run here? Shangguan Feixiong wiped his head around to bark at the Soul Harmony stage guard. With no time for manners, the guard looked like he'd seen a ghost. An old man came. And just an old man sent you in a panic? He said he's dragon-cleaving Sword King. What? Everyone froze, their faces paling. Shangguan Feixiong was really anxious now. Is he alone? Was there anyone else with him? The guard stammered, and no, but he said that he came to see Grandmaster Gu. Young miss had me come notify you, clan head, on what to do. You idiot. What are you coming to me for? Go see Gu Yifan. He's the clan head of this house. Go have him deal with Dan Shen. Shangguan Feixiong cursed. The guard startled, darted from the room, and bobbed his head in panic, now rushing to Zhuofan's room. Sweating buckets, Shangguan Feixiong and the others were shaken up, giving a stiff nod. Let's go check what Dan Shen's up to. Chapter 895, Invite. Chapter 895, Invite. Proofreader, Papatonks. A few chairs and a stone table were placed in the front yard, one of which was taken by a casual old man, sipping tea like he was right at home. Next to him was a fine girl, carefully peeking at him and looking conflicted. Dan Qingshan knew at a glance why, but played dumb. Miss Gu, what has gotten you so nervous? Feel free to return to your matters if you have to. I'll just wait here for Grandmaster Gu. It's not right. Cousin will surely blame me for leaving Sir Sword King unattended. Please overlook my uncouth and unfamiliar courtesy, ha ha ha. Shangwan Qingyan stiffened and had a weird smile while her heart was burning in anger. Not in her wildest dreams did she think Dan Qingshan would pay a house visit. Leaving him alone was out of the question as well. The old guy might wander around and stumble upon her clan. Once exposed, everything would be laid to ruin when they were so close. They'd suffer heavy losses before the second ambush even began. That was why even if she was wound tighter than a violin, she held it in like a champ. On top of that, she was pissed. Where the hell is that guard I sent to report to Dad? What should I do? Why aren't you saying something, Dad? And where's that Gu Yifan? I'm close to dying here. With a knowing smile, Dan Qingshan began, Miss Gu is too kind. I just came on a whim, so you can treat me like any other old man. I wouldn't feel at ease otherwise. Dragon-cleaving Sword King is so modest, seeing yourself as an average old man. Shangwan Qingyan smiled. Dan Qingshan waved casually as he teased, well, if Miss Gu insists, seeing how Grandmaster Gu has yet to arrive, would it be possible to take a stroll around the back of this place? Dan Qingshan already got up. Shangwan Qingyan shook then grew a notch more nervous. This humble abode is nothing impressive compared to a Sword King's manor. I wouldn't want to let you down. How can it be? A mountain needn't be high / it is famous for the deity residing there / a lake needn't be deep / it is magical with the dragon slumbering beneath the surface / my home is humble / but my presence brings it virtue. No matter how shabby Grandmaster Gu's home is, an 11th grade alchemist's house is leagues above anyone else's, ha ha ha. Smiley face an epigraph in praise of my humble home by Lu Yuki. Dan Qingshan started walking away. SSS. Gasping, Shangwan Qingyan was scared to death. Rushing to stop him, she teared up, Sir Sword King, there's really nothing impressive about this place. Please relax here and enjoy your tea. Miss Gu, you're looking a bit off there. Are you ill? Yes, I am feeling somewhat unwell. You have to take your medicine quickly and get some rest. You don't need to look after me, I can walk around by myself, ha ha ha, Dan Qingshan snickered as he toyed with the wee lass. Shangwan Qingyan shook all over, tears welling in her eyes. What do I do? How do I stop him? A laughter came from behind, Sir Sword King, you honor this house with your presence. What could have made Sir come here? What can I do Sir for? See cousin. Zhuo Fan was walking over at his own casual pace. Shangwan Qingyan burst with joy, looking at him like a savior. Zhuo Fan laughed inside at her frantic look. Yenner, your condition isn't stable. Go back in and rest. Leave Dragon-cleaving Sword King in my care. All right. Shangwan Qingyan nodded and gave him a look. With a respectful gesture to Dan Qingshan, she left free, like an inmate finishing his sentence. Watching her skip away in glee, Dan Qingshan mocked, ha ha ha, this girl is like an escaped bird. Guess she had been terrified. And whose fault is that, I wonder? What are you doing messing with a little girl anyway? Zhuo Fan chuckled. Dan Qingshan shrugged, can you blame me? Since when is receiving guests done in the front yard and not the parlor or even backyard? Now that's just rude. It's not like you don't know. It won't help anyone's case when everything comes to light. Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes, pointing at a stone stool, let's just talk here, lest you want everyone to soil themselves in fright. Why, am I that scary? What do you think? Sighing, Zhuo Fan said, you just haven't seen for yourself how close to losing it that Shangwan clan guard who came to tell me was. Anyone would be scared to death when one of the central area's 9 sword kings pays them a visit. Even before coming here, I saw the Shangguan clan huddled together in fright as they watched me come here, with even Shangguan Feixiong spilling his tea. Dan Qingshan sneered as he returned to his chair. Shangguan Feixiong? Ha ha ha, the last time I saw him he didn't look scared. The last time he was Eastern Land's strongest clan's clan head, while now he's a spy in the central area. How is that the same? Would you have attacked him in Eastern Lands? Would he attack you now, in the Flying Cloud City? Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes and mocked, sitting next to Dan Qingshan. Dan Qingshan nodded, harsh, but true, it's not the same, ha ha ha. So, why are you? Bailey Jingwei sent me. Like you predicted, they want to sow dissension. With a smirk, Dan Qingshan began to retell everything they spoke, ending with a sigh. Boy, you're really something, I'll give you that, to hold your own against that old weasel Bailey Jingwei. To the point you're having complete control over everything from the shadows. Zhuo Fan showed a wide smile. Great, since they want to sow dissension, they'll make things easy on this little old spy. Exactly how I like it, ha ha ha. Little weasel. Dan Qingshan snickered. Zhuo Fan gave him a long look and they both cracked up. They were both happy in their own way. Zhuo Fan, for seeing his plan coming along, and Dan Qingshan, for helping a good friend. Regardless, the two were in high spirits and nothing could curb their good mood. Clan head, young Master Gu is quite good. He's handling Dragon Cleaving Sword King like a pro. There's not a trace of fear in him, amazing. Now I get why Bailey Jingwei didn't spot him. The Shangguan clan's experts were watching from the shadows as they hid in the elder's room. While words did not reach them, the mood was enough to tell them how friendly they were. Shangguan Feixiong nodded in pride. I've made the right decision taking in this step-nephew. Clan head is brilliant. The others sucked up to him and praised, with only Shangguan Yulin feeling sour inside. Zhuo Fan and Dan Qingshan finished their short talk, called Shangguan Qingyan to tell her about something, then stunned the Shangguan clan as they just went out. Once they were gone, Shangguan Feixiong rushed straight for Shangguan Qingyan. Yenner, what happened? Why is Dan Qingshan taking Yifan? Oh, Dad, it's you. Having a mob of experts assaulting her scared her for a second. But seeing it was Shangguan Qingyan and the rest, she spoke heavily. Father, Dan Qingshan invited Sir Gu to the manor. He looks to value him. This time it'll be a good chance to finish the map. Paw! Clenching his fists, Shangguan Feixiong was overly excited, turning to the rest. Did Dan Qingshan notice us while he was here? Clan head, we have a barrier in the back to cover our auras. He shouldn't have noticed us. Great, this is providence. Shangguan Feixiong's eyes flashed, his tone firm. Men, we've quarreled enough on this mission. Flying Cloud Manor wants Yifan so bad while ignoring this house. This shows they don't know about us, not to mention we saw Yifan's attitude just now. He and Dragon Cleaving Sword King are friendly and I bet so are the other two. Then we must relax and make use of this rare opportunity. All we need now is for Yifan to finish the map and the attack will commence. They all cupped their fists and shouted, yes, sir. Shangguan Yulin grinned. Shangguan Yulin was by the side smiling in pride, with something sinister hidden within. Chapter 896, Jade Falls. Chapter 896, Jade Falls. Proofreader, Papatonks. Back at Flying Cloud Manor once more, he was met with the same imposing gate, the same impressive guards, yet a most contrasting welcome. Dan Qingshan and Zhuo Fan were met with bows of respect all around. Welcome Dragon Cleaving Sword King and Grandmaster Gu, a blessing to you. Zhuo Fan shot up to the level of the 9 Sword Kings practically, and literally, overnight. Even he was taken aback at the treatment. He noticed Dan Qingshan shrugging and leading the way with a smile. Zhuo Fan rose an eyebrow, following with a peculiar smile. Passing many pavilions and gardens, the two arrived at a fabulous and grandiose hall. Bailey Jingwei and Shangguan Feiyun were waiting for them in their seats. Ha ha ha, Grandmaster Gu, you're here at last. Have you handled your matters home? Shangguan Feiyin welcomed him with a laugh. Zhuo Fan gave a short bow. Sword King Feiyin needn't trouble. There's not much to look after at home, mostly finishing the chores, and I swiftly accepted Sword King's invitation. Might I ask what was the reason? Grandmaster, you're talking like I'm forcing you, ha ha ha. Shangguan Feiyin laughed again with a casual wave. He took Zhuo Fan's wrist, being overly friendly. There are just 5 days before Grandmaster will be leaving for the imperial capital with Prime Minister Bailey. With your skill and potential, you're sure to become the main alchemist in the imperial capital in no time. Grandmaster may even be under Invincible's sword, Patriarch's favorite. Those days will make it even harder for me to see Grandmaster in person. Before it comes to pass, I wanted to get to know Grandmaster better and have you leave my jurisdiction with peace of mind, ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan nodded, chuckling and cupping his hands. Sword King, you're just too kind to me. Shangguan Feiyin was a typical flatterer right now. Striking before he reached fame to get close and earning returns when he went big. But what was even clearer was Shangguan Feiyin's utmost respect was to give him the chance to scout the place. I'm not denying you anything because I'm fawning all over you. Making intelligence gathering too easy would rouse suspicions instead. But now this problem was solved through this most logical explanation. Taking a look around him, Zhuo Fan knew this was one of the 5 blank spots on Shangguan Qingyan's map. He just got to the manor and already filled one gap in the map. Bailey Jingwei sure is meticulous, filling in all the details. From indulging his scout role, to setting up the place for this guest, all was done within reason. He figured all of this out only because he had someone playing triple agent with every side. Ha ha ha, the world is going down the drain if even the proud Sword King Feiyin mastered the art of ingratiating. Bailey Jingwei laughed and walked over to them, afraid Zhuo Fan didn't get such an obvious hint. Kid, Shangguan Feiyin won't do nothing to you no matter what you break in this manner, or what place you barge into. All because he wants to get closer to you, so don't doubt for a second a scheme is afoot. This confirmed Zhuo Fan's conjectures even more. They were throwing the info to his feet. Why am I being tough? The time is now. Zhuo Fan grinned. Shangguan Feiyin found his act lacking, so he went on, grabbing Zhuo Fan's shoulder and glaring at Bailey Jingwei. Prime Minister, how can you say that? Grandmaster Gu is a genius coming from my own domain. What's wrong with being a good host in my own home by looking after Grandmaster Gu? Don't use your corrupt official rules on me. I appreciate talent just as you do, and I value Grandmaster Gu the most. Sword King Feiyin, does the manor have some marvels and sceneries that I can enjoy? Zhuo Fan cut him off with stars in his eyes. Shangguan Feiyin shook, giving him a flat look. Bailey Jingwei was taken off guard as well. I haven't even finished my script to justify your visit to the manor yet you dropped this sudden line? That saves us the foreplay, showing you right in, spy. Shangguan Feiyin laughed and gestured in invitation. Of course there are. Right this way, Grandmaster Gu. I dare say my manor has the best views, comparable even with the Thunder Pavilion in the imperial capital. You, sir, will be amazed at the breathtaking experience, ha ha ha. I can hardly wait. Zhuo Fan was excited as well, rubbing his hands as his eyes shone. He cared not what the Shangguan clan and Flying Cloud Manor were up to, just that his goal just so happened to be here. While they want dissension, I'll use my role as a spy this time to find what I want in this place. It just doesn't get any better than this, hee hee hee. Shangguan Feiyin grabbed Zhuo Fan and walked him out like an old friend. Dan Qingshan chuckled and turned serious. Prime Minister Bailey, you guys have made a script for hours to get Grandmaster Gu to play along. Now, instead of affirming your fears of finding it out, he just went head in with the script, falling for the first line in scouting the manor. If you knew, you and Sword King Feiyin would have just took him strolling instead, ha ha ha. Right you are. Bailey Jingwei chuckled as he shook his head. I've never seen a newbie spy like Grandmaster Gu in my life. He's not meandering at all, but reveals his goal from the start. We'd have long since thrown him into a torture chamber to squeeze the info out of him if we hadn't already known everything. So much planning, all gone to waste on this green spy. Even if we continued to fake it, he'd still not care because he was no spy, but an alchemist. Dan Qingshan remained silent, showing only a smirk. Know everything? Haha, Prime Minister, why this kid here knows way more than even the greatest sage in the empire. Dan Qingshan and Bailey Jingwei smiled, following after them. Shengguan Feiyun took Zhuo Fan in the backyard, where another blank spot on the map was located. Zhuo Fan was excited. Now, is there another whirlwind tunnel here? The roaring of a waterfall rumbled in his ears. Zhuo Fan barely contained his joy, as even his body shook. Shengguan Feiyun didn't notice it as he led the way. They soon arrived before a 300-meter-tall waterfall, revealed to them in the form of a white curtain. Glittering stars rained down from above. What made this waterfall so special was the lack of any cliffs. The water just fell from the air in an unending suspended river that wound through unseen obstacles before climbing back into the skies. This was a waterfall made of one complete circle of water, with the flow shaping all kinds of spaces, even tumbling in some areas. The sheer spectacle was enough to leave Zhuo Fan speechless. As water went down, man climbed up. A common saying that was toppled here and now. Water was not only taking form, but expressed different states, from soft to hard. Even without Sword King Feiyun's words, he knew this was the whirlwind tunnel he wanted to find. With a prideful look, Shengguan Feiyun pointed, "Ha ha ha, Grandmaster Gu, wasn't I right? This here is the most amazing sight in the world, Jade Falls, endless and flowing. The water just stands in the air held by nothing, unmarred by the mortal world, yet solid as any mountain. It is a cultivator's paradise with its incredible spiritual energy, even more so for a water cultivator. It also helps calm one's restless heart. The ones who can't make use of it are those related to alchemy and refining." "I can see that." Zhuo Fan nodded. "Even so, it's still a great place to cultivate. Truly everyone looks upon Sword King Feiyun with envy for you to have such a paradise at your disposal." Shengguan Feiyun chuckled, "Oh, no, this is bestowed by the world. I couldn't possibly take it for myself. And I'm also not gaining as much from it from our incompatible attributes. The only help comes from clearing one's Dao heart." Zhuo Fan nodded. Zhuo Fan's right arm flashed an eerie red glow and a thick bloodthirst shot from the waterfall at him. Zhuo Fan was shocked, so were the rest. Shengguan Feiyun welcomed him in his own home, yet now someone dared to attack. Chapter 897, Soaring Sword. Chapter 897, Soaring Sword. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh! As the water sprayed everywhere, a flash of red sword aura from the falls shot right at Zhuo Fan. The icy piercing bloodthirst bit into his face, making his skin crawl. A sacred weapon? Zhuo Fan's heart thumped, his fists balled up. This was his second time seeing a sacred weapon, first being in the double dragon manner where the vaulting sword got him good. Not even the nigh indestructible Qilin arm could hold it back. With such a sharp edge, there was hardly anything out there that could truly resist it. The sacred beast aura must have triggered it. The only way to stop it is with my divine Eye of the Void. Forged by the heavenly sovereign and sword sovereign, this sacred weapon would be meek in the face of its master's power. Unfortunately, he wasn't alone this time around, with 3 other spectators. By pushing back a sacred weapon now was the same as blowing his cover. It would make all his efforts so far useless. Zhuo Fan's heart tensed in hesitation, not knowing what to do. As the crimson sword aura drew closer and closer, he was stuck in a dilemma. Nonetheless, his right eye flashed golden, ready to act if needed be. First priority would always be his life, of course. "How dare you come out when I'm with an important guest? Leave at once." The roaring voice of Shengguan Feiyun echoed out. Zhuo Fan chuckled with a sneer. He'd never believe it for a second that Shengguan Feiyun could control the raging sacred weapon. Genesis stage they might be, at peak of the mortal domain, but mortals all the same. Yet they thought of commanding a sacred weapon? You should be grateful the great weapon a sovereign forge would even allow you to wield it. Instead of respecting its parent, you holler at it and expect it to bow down. That's a 6th grade sacred weapon, not some spiritual toothpick. It demands respect. Only to look on with a dumb look at what he was witnessing the next moment. The red sword faltered in midair and hovered, actually listening to Shangguan Feiyin. Zhua Fan's eye twitched. No way. What's a 6th grade sacred weapon doing listening to some mortal domain citizen? Bruh, you're the best of the best, made by a sovereign himself, so how can you just fall so low as to obey some Genesis stage expert? Where's your dignity? Where's your pride? Did you lose them on your way down to the moral domain? Zhua Fan watched the inconceivable play with mixed emotions. He had to switch vaulting sword soul with blood infant to get that one. Now though, Shangguan Feiyin had done him one better, with this one's sword soul completely capitulating to him. It was the only logical explanation for this ridiculous scene. It made him wonder though. Why is a sovereign-made sacred weapon giving in just like that? Why is it going against Heavenly Sovereign's order to kill the sacred beasts and listening to Shangguan Feiyin instead? Zhua Fan stood there, rooted in doubt. Shangguan Feiyin took it for fear and laughed in apology. Grandmaster Gu, forgive me. This sword is the greatest treasure of Eastern lands I brought along, soaring divine sword, which needs a place of thick spiritual energy to reside in. So I just placed it in the Jade Falls along with sacred stones. Unlike any spiritual weapon, this divine weapon has a will of its own and shuns strangers. It must have sensed you and burst out. Forgive me for letting it scare Grandmaster. It's fine, it's my honor to witness the great Eastern land's divine weapon, soaring sword, ha ha ha, Zhua Fan chuckled. Shangguan Feiyin and Bailey Jingwei shared a nod and an evil grin. With the soaring sword's location known, all that's left is for them to make a move, humph. Hum. But then the red sword aura flashed once more, followed by the soaring sword disregarding Shangguan Feiyin's order as it attacked Zhua Fan again. The immense pressure and savagery took his breath away. Shangguan Feiyin narrowed his eyes and barked, "Soaring sword, stop this instant. He's my honored guest." Clang! The soaring sword expressed its refusal with a ringing sound, still coming at Zhua Fan to end him where he stood. Curses, I thought I told you to stop already. With a mask of rage, Shangguan Feiyin drew 2 fingers together and swiped. A sword energy shot straight at soaring sword. Bam! The sky cracked with a deafening thunderclap. The shockwave spread throughout the whole of Flying Cloud Manor. The guard held their ears in pain as they bled from eyes, nose, and mouth. The weaker ones had it worse, knocked out on the spot. Not that the closest Soul Harmony and Genesis stage experts closest to Bailey Jingwei and Zhua Fan fared any better. Lucky that Dan Qingsheng was there to take the brunt, cancelling it with the gale he sent with a casual swipe of his hand. It by no means managed to relieve Zhua Fan of his frown, amazed by what he was seeing instead of feeling fear. Soaring sword actually halted at Shangguan Feiyin's attack, even if it kept shaking in midair. This can't be. Zhua Fan was stunned once more by the soaring sword. The sacred weapons were outrageously strong. He should know, since just one meager sword energy was enough to pierce his Qilin arm. How was it that now some guy's attack got it stuck? Zhua Fan was finding it hard to accept. Is that attack so much stronger than the sacred weapon? That's absurd. Even if it wasn't a sovereign-made weapon, it's a 6th grade sacred weapon for a reason. It just can't be so weak as to be trapped under some mortal's attack. But reality couldn't be denied. Sword King Feiyin held more strength in handling Heavenly Sovereign's sacred weapon than he who used tricks. Hum. The soaring sword rang as it shook in the air, but it was soon apparent it was growing weaker. Shangguan Feiyin kept his fingers out all this time, getting weaker? Then get back in there and recover. Don't let me catch you bursting out and scaring my guests again. Shangguan Feiyin flicked his hand and the Shangguan Feiyin was flung back. It tumbled through the air before entering the waterfall. Zhua Fan eased a breath, giving Shangguan Feiyin a long look. He really is the best in Eastern lands for a reason. Grandmaster Gu, everyone, I must apologize. I don't know what has gotten into that divine sword to scare you. Please forgive me. Shangguan Feiyin looked contrite as he cupped his hands. Bailey Jingwei laughed offhandedly, that divine weapon has always been weird. It must be our sudden arrival into its domain that provoked the divine weapon. No apology necessary. We wouldn't have gotten to witness Sword King Feiyin's great skill otherwise. Sword King Feiyin's soaring sword art has improved even more, ha ha ha. Prime Minister, there's no need to joke. I take full responsibility for this mistake. Shangguan Feiyin chuckled and turned to Zhua Fan, I must have startled you, Grandmaster Gu. Why don't you go to your room, now that it is ready, and rest for the day? I shall be personally giving you a tour of the garden tomorrow and use the chance to get closer. Zhua Fan bowed, looking disturbed, but forced a smile. Sword King is too kind. I can only accept the offer. Let us continue tomorrow. The others bowed and Dan Qingshan said, I'll show Grandmaster Gu to his room. At the nod of the other two, Zhua Fan and Dan Qingshan walked out of sight. Bailey Jingwei whined out of earshot, Shangguan Feiyin, I only asked you to reveal the soaring sword to Grandmaster Gu to patch up the map, but you went overboard with making a scene and scaring him as well. He's just a radiant stage cultivator. What if you scared his wits away too? How are you going to find me another talent with the potential to become the best alchemist in the world? Prime Minister Bailey, it wasn't me. Shangguan Feiyin frowned. Bailey Jingwei gave him a look, who else is there? You're the only one in the Flying Cloud Manor that commands the soaring sword. That's just it. Shangguan Feiyin gave a perplexed sigh, I wanted to lead him to Jade Falls to give him a peek of the soaring sword. But for some strange reason, the sword came out by itself and attacked Grandmaster Gu. It had such a thick bloodlust too, that it overrode my command. This has never happened before. Bailey Jingwei frowned, filled with doubt, does him being a stranger have anything to do with it I wonder? The manor is filled with strangers, but none triggered soaring sword's bloodlust. Just what is going on here? Shangguan Feiyin gnashed his teeth, his eyes flashing. Chapter 898, Sacred Weapon Get. Chapter 898, Sacred Weapon Get. Proofreader, Papatonks. In the peaceful gardens, an old man and a youth walked shoulder to shoulder. The guards didn't mind them once. Zhua Fan saw the coast was clear and gave Dan Qingshan a questioning gaze, Old Dan, how come Shangguan Feiyin has such an easy time controlling the soaring sword? Back in Double Dragon Manor the vaulting sword got me good. Its power isn't something just anyone can block. Can't you tell? It's because he grew up alongside the sword and understands its nature. Dan Qingshan glanced at him. It only worked to puzzle Zhua Fan more, what's that supposed to mean? Boy, why do you think the factions covet the 5 divine weapons that can become guardian divine weapons? Dan Qingshan had a smirk on his face. Zhua Fan blurted, since the 5 divine weapons are outstanding, can cut anything, making the wielder fight 10 at a time and can even kill a stage above the wielder. There's nothing strange about being called a guardian divine weapon either. Ha ha ha, wrong. What you described there is anything with a sharp edge, not nearly enough for a divine weapon to earn the respect of all experts in the world. Why would the invincible sword be afraid and desire them then? I guess you haven't entered Double Dragon Manor yet. Haha, do you want to know why the 9 sects of Western lands would just send their disciples thousands of miles away to fight in the Double Dragon Gathering for the chance to cultivate in the Double Dragon Manor? Since Double Dragon Manor monopolized the sacred stones, right? Zhua Fan continued with a frown, sacred stones are the fastest way to groom outstanding disciples and guard Western lands along with its resources and interests. What other reason is there? With a teasing grin, Dan Qingshan nodded, you're not wrong there. But sacred stones aren't limited to having a thick spiritual energy, they can also wash one's marrow, improving a cultivator's constitution. As for the most important reason, well, ha ha ha. Dan Qingshan pointed at his head. Brains? Zhua Fan lit up. Dan Qingshan rolled his eyes. Speaking of brains, there are many wise men out there who can use their heads far better than cultivators. Like Bailey Jingwei and other high officials of empires, smarter than cultivators alike. Why is it that the Double Dragon Manor didn't invite them over? You mean? Insight. Dan Qingshan's eyes shone, his voice firm. Cultivators gain insight in the world around them. It's a must to learn all the arts and skills out there. The level of insight will make two cultivators feel completely different despite using the same skill and having the same cultivation. Double Dragon Manor is holding their contest to look into the sects for seeds with high insight. I'm sure you noticed by now that power isn't enough to get you in. While insight and power go hand in hand, it's not always the case. You've seen the 4 girls' array at the gathering, how weak it was. Yet they got invited anyway. This is the reason. That array holds the world, giving the 4 girls value in being nurtured. Zhua Fan raised an eyebrow. Having mentioned Chu Qingqing's group, Dan Qingshan reminded him of his pain. But he soon recovered. What's that got to do with the 5 divine weapons? Plenty. Dan Qingshan turned grave. The divine weapons can open one's mind, helping the user understand better arts and skills. That's understanding, not learning. It's not just handed to you on a jade slip, but something you discover out of nowhere. This is insight. A low insight blocks you from understanding the inner workings of the world and its Tao, while also stopping you from gaining a unique skill of your own. It's why I have twin souls and the dragon cleaving art. Everything stemmed from the insight the vaulting sword invested in me. The same applies to Shengguan Feiyun's soaring sword art he understood from the soaring sword. Almost every top expert of the lands has their power stemming from the understanding of the divine weapon. The level of their strength is set apart only by their insight. The most known is Invincible Sword Bailey Yutian. That old freak's sundering sword art has reached perfection. Nothing and no one can stop him. But it's not enough to make him relax, fearing there might be someone out there that would gain equal insights from other divine weapons like he did. That's why. Shuddering, Zhua Fan was so overwhelmed he blocked out Dan Qingshan's last words. He came to know a shocking secret. The 5 sacred weapons weren't just in the 6th grade, but also contained Sword Sovereign's sword path. The mortal domain cultivators were walking the path of the Sword Sovereign treaded through these sacred weapons. That's why Shengguan Feiyun can control the soaring sword. He got most of the soaring sword's core sword skill that the soaring sword is based on. Heaven Trailing Sect's High Venerable's words came to mind just then. He was near the vaulting sword and understood in 3 days his unique skill, Heaven Trailing Sword. Only his contact with the sacred weapon was very short, making his understanding lacking compared with Shengguan Feiyun and Dan Qingshan, who had great insights on top of being around the weapons for longer. This was not to say the Heaven Trailing Sword wasn't in a league of its own. Now that was a unique skill. It meant that Shengguan Feiyun and Dan Qingshan, who spent their days understanding the sacred weapon, more fully comprehended the Sword Sovereign's sword. They of course were even more amazing. Zhua Fan now lost all his disdain for the top brass of the mortal domain. Looking at it from a certain angle, they were training in the arts of sacred domain, with the knowledge a sovereign left behind. Zhua Fan turned serious, regretting how he had the vaulting sword with him for 2 years yet it was used as nothing more than a glorified paperweight, having learned nothing from it. Even if the sword spirit got swapped, the knowledge was still there somewhere. He didn't pick up swordsmanship all this time since he didn't want to practice it and also because he saw no one around him worthy to teach him. Now though, the sacred weapon had inside a sovereign's legacy. How could he just let this monumental occasion slip by? That's for later though. What takes priority is the job, sealing the World Wind Tunnel and giving this town the slip with young Sanzi. Seeing him deep in thought, obviously oblivious to his words, Dan Qingshan rolled his eyes. Anyways, be extra careful. Divine weapons are treasured anywhere in this world. The Shangguan clan isn't here to get the soaring sword back just cause it's sharp, but escape from Invincible Sword's oppressive yoke, while also bearing the responsibility for future experts. This applies to all lands. If you plan on going after the divine weapon, know that not just Shangguan Feiyan, but even Bailey Jingwei will come for you. I know that. I'll be extra careful. Zhuo Fan chuckled with a carefree smile. Dan Qingshan nodded after a long look. He knew just how smart Zhuo Fan was and that he had his own plans, so he just reminded him. He then left Zhuo Fan in his room. The next day, Shangguan Feiyan came to knock on his door to give him a tour of the premises and complete the map. Zhuo Fan milked his new role for all it's worth in the meanwhile, exploring the manor's every corner, raising questions and earning answers to any and all things he didn't know or understand. The only thing missing were the holes the mice left in Shangguan Feiyan's room. Other than that, he knew the place like the back of his hand. In face of Zhuo Fan's brazen and absurd requests, Shangguan Feiyan's group acted offhandedly, answering every time, while grumbling inside. This spy is getting a bit out of hand here. He's even asking about the guard's shift change for God's sake. Do we look like idiots to you? Anyone with half a brain will know you're Shangguan clan's spy the minute you ask that. What are you doing even asking them? Shangguan Feiyan noticed Zhuo Fan didn't ask out brazen attitude, but out of awkwardness. Just when Bailey Jingwei was having enough of this poor excuse of a spy, Zhuo Fan's next question took the cake. I wonder if there are any secret escape tunnels out of the manor. Not telling. Shangguan Feiyan's face twitched and chuckled. Grandmaster Gu, how can Flying Cloud Manor have something like that? Why are you asking anyway? Run. Zhuo Fan spoke with utter conviction. I heard the manor was under attack by assassins a while back. I need to know so I can flee if they come again. Shangguan Feiyan gave him a long look. This was a sore spot for him. Why is he so cheerfully asking about it? Isn't he scared I'll suspect him? Bailey Jingwei was far more astute. Grandmaster Gu isn't as green as I thought. He knows how to probe for information. Flying Cloud Manor has the Sword King. There's no thief who'd dare enter here. And we'll be returning to the Imperial capital soon. We'll need Grandmaster Gu to look after the Crown Prince's condition soon. Bailey Jingwei's meaning was clear. I came for the Crown Prince and have no time to dawdle around. Do what you need, attack the manor while at it, but I'll be going either way. Zhuo Fan smiled and nodded, meeting Bailey Jingwei's eyes and sharing agreement. The 5 days flew by and Zhuo Fan's map was made whole as a result. Though he wasn't exactly keen on giving it to the Shangguan clan. As the Soaring Sword and the Jade Falls happened to be in the same place, he and them now had a conflict of interests. He needed lots of time for his job and that meant the Shangguan clan had to fight it out with Shangguan Feiyan, preferably elsewhere. Chapter 899, Reporting. Chapter 899, Reporting. Proofreader, Papatunks. Grandmaster Gu, we'll be setting off first thing in the morning. The dawn of the 4th day came yet Zhuo Fan hadn't even asked to go back to his home, while Bailey Jingwei had since been wanting him to do so from the start, so he gave Zhuo Fan the perfect excuse to report back. Going to Imperial capital will mean seeing to His Majesty and then His Highness to cure him. Things will get very complicated for a long time, making settling your family hard. You're going to have to leave your family for a while, Grandmaster Gu. So before we go, would you like to go home and say your goodbyes? So you won't appear cold. Zhuo Fan smiled, getting the gist. Prime Minister is so thoughtful. It's my intention as well. Then Grandmaster Gu can return to his family for today and the Dragon-Cleaving Sword King shall escort us to the Imperial capital the next day. It's been half a month now since I left the Imperial capital and we can't delay addressing the Crown Prince's state any longer. Bailey Jingwei's eyes flashed, looking restless. Zhuo Fan grinned inside while giving a nod. I admire Prime Minister's devotion, a pillar of the nation and its people. Be at ease, sir, I shall give my very best in curing the crown prince once we arrive, as gratitude for Prime Minister's favor now. Thank you, Grand Master Gu. The day is nevertheless short, so hurry back to your family. Bailey Jingwei waved him off with a kind smile. Zhuo Fan retreated after a bow. Just as he faded from view, it was Sheng Wanfeiyan's cue to step in from a side door, snickering, going to give his report? Yes, now it's their move, ha ha ha. Beaming, Bailey Jingwei leaned back on his chair, easing into it and feeling control over the entire board. None could escape his palm. Zhuo Fan went to the Shengguan clan with a clear mind and intent, to give them the map they tasked him to patch up. He just opened the door and Shengguan Qingyan yanked him in, not forgetting to stick her head out after and check if the coast was clear. She closed the door shut and pulled him to the parlor. Hurry up, Dad and everyone are getting impatient. Uncle's waiting for me? Zhuo Fan asked. Bailey Jingwei only let me off today. How did you guys know so fast? Shengguan Qingyan rolled her eyes. Of course we didn't know. Dad and the Venerables had always been eager for good news ever since you left, waiting and waiting. But then it took 5 days. Any longer and Dad would have sent me over to ask for you. Nodding, Zhuo Fan saw just how crucial the operation was for Shengguan Feixiong, and how tense they were because of it. Better for him, actually, since it made fooling them easier. Getting to be the final winner in this mission was going to be a walk in the park now. Zhuo Fan grinned, letting Shengguan Qingyan take him to the parlor. Shengguan Feixiong and the others were beyond restless, pacing all over the place. Maybe the chairs had splinters in them. Dad, Sir Gu is back. Her bright voice echoed throughout the room, pulling on everyone's jittery heartstrings. Every pair of eyes were fixed on Zhuo Fan's plain face with a burning gaze. Seeing him so casual filled them with respect and expectations. It was like meeting their ancestors. Shengguan Feixiong stepped forward and took a deep breath. He grabbed Zhuo Fan's shoulder and spoke eagerly, Yifan, why you're back at last. SSS. The weight was too much on Shengguan Feixiong's nerves, forgetting himself and squeezing hard. Zhuo Fan winced. Uncle, why your hand? Oh, sorry, I got a little too excited there, ha ha ha. Letting go, Shengguan Feixiong gave an awkward smile, then he turned serious. Yifan, how is it? Is the map? Grinning from ear to ear, Zhuo Fan's hand glowed to reveal a white paper cover in squiggles most defined and intricate. Uncle, rest easy knowing that there's not a stone unchecked in the manner when I made this map. Snatching the map in eagerness, he also took out the map Shengguan Qingyan made for comparison. Ha ha ha, it is indeed more detailed than Yenner's. And it includes the 5 blank spots as well with added details. But where exactly are these 5 places? Why are they under heavy guard and restricted? Do you know, Yifan? How could I have not looked into it? That would mean I'd be endangering my Shengguan clan's brothers. Zhuo Fan beamed and pointed at the map with pride. Uncle, here is the treasury, filled with the manor's valuables. Here is the barracks, where the guards rotate and the armory is located, holding demonic treasures and spiritual weapons. And this here is Shengguan Feiyan's private quarters, holding his wives, children, cultivation partners. What a rotten degenerate, how come he has so many cultivation partners? What about me? Zhuo Fan looked green with envy, wishing to replace Shengguan Feiyan in nightly cultivation. But then his words got cut off by the sharp kick in the leg, making him cry out. He looked back to see a pair of raging eyes boring holes into him. Shengguan Qingyan glared and was ticked off. You're supposed to be scouting the manor, not the guy's harem. Did you already forget about your wife in Western lands? Yifan, you're going overboard here. This is no time to think about dual cultivation, you're on a mission here. Be more serious. Glaring at him, Shengguan Feixiong chided as well, now also holding his shoulder. Though to train in Shengguan clan's soaring sword art, we have no choice but to resort to dual cultivation as well as we need to expel the savage energy inside us. Once we get back to Eastern lands, I'll personally teach you this ultimate skill. No need to rush it. Zhua Fan was intrigued. So that's why Shangguan Feiyun didn't look like a genuine horned dog. It's because he's doing it to cultivate. He got the shock of his life when Shangguan Feiyun took him to his private quarters. With 72 concubines around, this Sword King was an emperor in his own right. When he thought Sir Sword King was about to give him a couple, he found that he was here to take a peek and that was it. Thank heavens I'm no leecher, or that glorious view would have haunted me for the rest of my life. Now he knew that this was related to the skill in the soaring sword. It was too savage for just anyone to learn and they had to vent it somehow before it did more harm than good. The best way just happened to be dual cultivation. Zhua Fan nodded and the other Shangguan clansmen gave back a knowing smile. Shangguan Qingyan was looking a bit dark there, among them, humph, with a degenerate master one only gets degenerate disciples. Is that how a clan head acts? Where's the honor in that? Ahem, right, let's get back on topic. With an embarrassed smile, Shangguan Feixiong patted Zhua Fan's head, pinning the blame on him. Don't lead us along, kid, this is serious, deadly so. How could you distract us so much? Now, what about the remaining 2 areas? Zhua Fan rolled his eyes and cursed. You're just upright in the wrong place. I hardly ever did dual cultivation myself while your clan does it on a daily basis for cultivation. You have the nerve to point your finger at me. Just how many maidens have you ruined? He made sure to keep that part to himself, while giving them a knowing nod, giving this discount uncle a scapegoat. He continued, this is Shangguan Feiyun's resting room, under tight guard of course. And this is something called Jade Falls, a paradise with thick spiritual energy. It is here where I saw a peculiar item, Eastern Land's divine weapon, Soaring Sword. Soaring Sword is in there? Shangguan Feixiong's eyes shook, his face filled with joy. He turned to see the rest were just as happy. They had charged in last time without knowing of Soaring Sword's location and had spent half an hour searching to no avail. Now they knew where it was, they had a target to follow. The mission will work. Everyone was excited, with Shangguan Feixiong's face growing red, unable to calm down. Chapter 900, Real and Fake Maps. Chapter 900, Real and Fake Maps. Proofreader, Papatonks. Yi Fun, you've done exemplary work once more, ha ha ha. Shangguan Feixiong's lips quivered as he laughed, unable to hold himself from slamming Zhua Fan's shoulder again and making Zhua Fan wince under the force. He only had those teary eyes to show for the pressure he was under. Blocking the man from crushing him some more, Zhua Fan beamed, Uncle, are you after the soaring sword? Yes, with how you've done the clan such great service twice, I'll tell you. Shangguan Feixiong sighed, the highest powers of Shangguan have gone through a great journey from the eastern lands to the central area. But it wasn't to get the traitor Shangguan Feiyun, since we couldn't defeat him even back home, to say nothing in his own turf. We did it all for the greatest treasure of eastern lands, Soaring Sword. It must be hard to imagine just how important it is to us. Zhua Fan kept his understanding of the matter silent. Though if it weren't for Dan Qingshan's mention, he'd still be oblivious of the 5 sacred weapons roles. That the sacred weapon was not just a single man's strength, but the glory of a clan. Of course they'd go through hell to get it back. Shangguan Feixiong took his silence for ignorance and chuckled as he thanked, anyway, Yi Fun, because of you, Shangguan clan's glory will continue. The clan will never forget what you've done for us. You're our most glorious member. Really? Does that mean I can strut around the clan? Raising an eyebrow, Zhua Fan chuckled, putting on a mischievous act. Shangguan Feixiong laughed and the rest no longer disdained him, but found this step young master to be trustworthy and valuable, even cute. Shangguan Yulin was the only one watching from way back with a poisonous stare. Shangguan Feixiong signaled the men to calm down and looked at them with confidence. Men, we've been at odds because of the dangers regarding the mission, now I dare say this chance is providence. With this map, the Flying Cloud Manor can have 2 Sword Kings, and can have Bailey Jingwei, but it means nothing. We will strike fast, take the Soaring Sword and return to Eastern Lands at once. and they won't be able to do anything to stop us. Uncle, I don't know about two sword kings, just that Flying Cloud Manor only has Shengguan Feiyan. Zhuo Fan grinned. Shengguan Feixiong started, what? Ha. Bailey Jingwei is worried about the crown prince's condition and wants to take me as the main alchemist back to the imperial capital, with the dragon-cleaving sword king acting as guard. Zhuo Fan muttered, that's why Bailey Jingwei had me return today to look after my family before we go tomorrow. Shengguan Feixiong looked at him long with a stumped gaze, you're serious? Bailey Jingwei said it himself and so did dragon-cleaving sword king. It has to be real. Zhuo Fan said. Shengguan Feiyan shuddered, then finally reacted, ha, providence indeed. Heaven has blessed the Shengguan clan. Bailey Jingwei and Dragon-Cleaving Sword King are leaving, with only Shengguan Feiyan remaining. Now our success is nigh, ha. Congratulations, clan head, with heaven's gift, we will succeed for sure. The rest joined in with their excitement. Everyone was happy, so much so they were acting as if it was a blowout, like the soaring sword was in their hands. Shengguan Feixiong used the lively spirits to work on the plan of attack on the manor for the second time. Looking at them fired up, Zhuo Fan had a quirky smile. On this earth, it's not providence, but me helping you. Though I do have to thank you for helping me as well, ha. Whoosh! Hours passed and after intense debates, Shengguan Feixiong's team settled on a strategy. They would engage 3 days after Bailey Jingwei left. Standing in a somewhat hidden corner, Shengguan Yulin learned of this and slipped away, to a secluded spot to send a jade slip flying towards the manor. Darting his head around, looking for any faces, Shengguan Yulin returned in equal silence to his room. Closing the door, a quite familiar darkness took him once more. His senses were blind in this abyss, unable to see his own fingers. Face twitching, Shengguan Yulin's heart reached rock bottom, lamenting his fate as he groveled on the ground. He banged his head 3 times and declared, "Greetings, master." Ha, you're looking quite sharp this time around, kid. Master, it's only natural for a disciple to greet this master with the respect sir deserves. With a revolted look, Shengguan Yulin looked to be used to it by now, being as meek as a wee lamb. Zhuo Fan's eyes shone, I must say, you've elevated your shamelessness to a whole new level. You truly live up to the title I bestowed upon you, degenerate demon, ha. Shengguan Yulin turned a deaf ear, his face stony. Well, that's enough small talk. Where's the map? Zhuo Fan squinted, cutting straight to the chase, and before you say it's not done yet, I saw the kid return with my own eyes. Shengguan Yulin inhaled deeply and revealed a white paper, a copy he made. Master, I prepared this map of the manor for you. I ask that master receives it. Well done, for being tactful too, he. The map flew into the darkness and Zhuo Fan inspected it. Is Shengguan Yulin that sincere to not mess with it at all? Soon though, Shengguan Yulin looked at the abyss and reported, Master, you must be after the soaring sword as well, right? Well, aren't you chatty? Glancing over, Zhuo Fan said, what's it to you? Shengguan Yulin paused and said, he, if yes, I urge Master to act 3 days later. Why? It's the same day that Shengguan clan will attack and Master can use the chaos to your advantage. Shengguan Yulin sported a nasty smirk. Zhuo Fan mocked, why are you so nice to me? A master a day, a father for life. I can no more be rude to Master than I could denounce my own father. Shengguan Yulin raised an eyebrow as he spouted corny stuff with a straight face. Zhuo Fan had a total disbelieving mocking tone, what about your clan, or your lord? They are nothing compared to Master. With a wide smile, Shengguan Yulin said, only you dictate my fate. Zhuo Fan gave him a long look, that does make some sense. Also, Master, you know that I'm working for the Flying Cloud Manor. That means the Shengguan clan's attack to get the soaring sword will be a trap. Master would gain nothing if you plan on taking the divine sword from them. Shengguan Yulin gave another deep bow, as if advising Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan faked anger, what's that supposed to mean? First you want me to use the chaos to my advantage and now you're telling me not to. Are you mocking me? No, that's not it, master. Shangguan Yulan snickered, barging into the manor after Shangguan clan isn't a good plan. Only when the two sides fight will the chance become obvious. It won't get any easier than then to steal the divine sword. That's why I suggest Master capitalize on this diversion to get away with the sword. Zhua Fan squinted, speak. Master, please consider giving the map a careful look. There are two areas, the easternmost one where Jade Falls where the soaring sword is and the northernmost one where Shangguan Feiyan's resting room is. First is the original place of the sword while the second where Shangguan Feiyan will hide it. In my time at the manor, I've seen Shangguan Feiyan taking the soaring sword to his room. The spiritual energy there is also thick, not just for cultivating, but to store the soaring sword as well. Shangguan Yulan had an evil smile. They know the Shangguan clan's moves and will hide the divine sword. So it has to be in the second location. When the two sides meet at the Jade Falls, Master can slip into the Sword King's room and steal the sword with none the wiser. Talk about twisted words. Zhua Fan had a cold smile. Having turned every pebble over in the manor, there was no one who knew the Flying Cloud manor better than him. This punk's nonsense is meant to incite me to go in and get me killed. I bet he sent fake info as well, making Shangguan Feiyan place a trap there. Too bad for you since I fiddled with the map from the start and reported a fake, humph. Chapter 901, Twisted Reality. Chapter 901, Twisted Reality. Proofreader, Papatonks. Whoosh! On the half-a-meter wide table between Bailey Jingwei and Shangguan Feiyan were placed the finest drinks and dishes, adding to the enjoyment of the tranquil lake nearby. The two were relishing the view, the company and the wine without a care. There was a sound and Bailey Jingwei held out his hand for a jade slip to land in it. Shangguan Feiyan's eyes flashed, ha ha ha, already? I have to say, Sword King, your nephew is certainly a go-getter, ha ha ha, Bailey Jingwei chuckled. Shangguan Feiyan waved him off, as if, it's more like that brother of mine is too rushed, or, like Prime Minister said, greedy. How else do you explain his hastily drawn-out plan? Their eyes met and burst out laughing with ridicule. Bailey Jingwei scanned the jade slip closely and nodded with a smile. Though something did catch his attention, so much so he was feeling suspicious. What is it, Prime Minister? What is the problem? Shangguan Feixiong will strike 3 days after we leave. Isn't that great? The trap is set and all that's left is for them to spring it. Prime Minister, is there something nagging you? Shangguan Feiyan looked curious at first, but dismissed his worries after he heard the info inside the jade slip. Bailey Jingwei's doubts remained. Shangguan Feiyan plans to raid the Jade Falls with his experts while the 3 strongest venerables will be going after your resting room to kill you. If all goes well, great, but if not, they will hold you back while the others steal the soaring sword. Humph, a mere pipe dream. Shangguan Feiyan disregarded his worry, they want to cut me off. Then I'll lay 2 traps, real experts in my room where I'll stay guard as well and send the rest of the men to Jade Falls, where Prime Minister will direct with Brother Donqing's assistance. They can get in, but there's no leaving with 2 Sword Kings around, ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei nodded, but his conscience wasn't eased. Be that as it may, something is strange here. Prime Minister, what is it now? Is something off? The plan is solid, only the details are weird. Bailey Jingwei's eyes flashed and passed the jade slip over. Sword King Feiyan, noticed the map Shangguan Yulan attached inside. Shangguan Feiyan was starting to be suspicious as well. I let that Grandmaster Gu make it, so what's there to see? It's not like I don't know my own home. 3 days later, the Shangguan clan will split in 2 before attacking. Shangguan Feixiong will lead his men to attack the easternmost area of the manor, Jade Falls, and steal the soaring sword. While the 3 venerables will ambush Sword King's room, the northernmost place. To kill and to stop the enemy so the clan head can succeed, ugh. Shangguan Feiyan was casual as he read, but then his eyes landed on the map, Jade Falls in the east. But it's in the west side. And then my room in the north is actually in the southeast. Just what is up with this map? Bailey Jingwei wore a mask of doubt. Shangguan Yulan supplied this map and, by all accounts, shouldn't be an attempt at cheating us. At least he was so blatantly obvious about it. He is oblivious to everything in the Flying Cloud manor, unlike us. The only logical explanation is that this is the same map he got from Shangguan Feixiong, this fake. The clan got a fake map. A fake? Shangguan Feiyun was baffled. How in hell is it fake? You're saying Grandmaster Gu handed this fake to them? Why would he do that? Bailey Jingwei frowned, deep in thought. Logic says Gu Yifan is relying on Shangguan clan, a crutch to lean on and ride their coattails to success. But he gave them a fake map, botching their plans and turning from their confidant to a traitor. He only gets to lose from it. Is he committed to becoming the Sword Star Empire's alchemist? Is that why he's breaking it off with the Shangguan clan? That's not right either, or he'd be throwing his lot with us by using the fake map to catch the clan in one fell swoop. Any betrayal should be done fully, not randomly, or he won't get anything out of it. The Shangguan clan had patched their lacking knowledge with the fake map, but they wouldn't lose that much because of it. And with the failure of the second ambush, they would no longer have any chance of attacking the manor, while the Shangguan clan would hate Gu Yifan's guts. While on the manor's side, being in the dark to the source of this fake map, they couldn't give Grandmaster Gu any credit for the results. He gets nothing from either side. So why? The Prime Minister Bailey Jingwei was having a headache as well with this conundrum, let alone Shangguan Feiyun. Bailey Jingwei finally shouted, "Who were the ones watching over Grandmaster Gu in the manor? Call them here, now." "Yes, sir." Someone shouted, and soon 2 guards were before him, bowing. "Prime Minister, Sword King, how may we be of service? Are you 2 the ones who looked after Grandmaster Gu during his stay at the manor?" "Per the Lord's order, we kept Grandmaster Gu safe." "Was anything off about Grandmaster Gu's actions?" Bailey Jingwei's eyes flashed, his words startling the guards as they replied, "Many things earned our suspicion. Like constantly asking about the path between Jade Falls and Sword King's home, about the restricted areas. Prime Minister and Lord might not know, but he also had us show him the way." "I get it. We already know about that, but is there anything else?" Shangguan Feiyun waved him off. "That's something I allowed so Gu Yifan could finish his map." Bailey Jingwei's brow shook and jumped in. "Wait, you mean he constantly asked you?" "Why?" "Prime Minister, what's wrong about that? All spies will inquire. We've taken him everywhere through the manor, so why is he still asking others? And not just once either." Bailey Jingwei cut him off with a serious look. Shangguan Feiyun was stumped. "Yeah, now why is that? Afraid he won't be found out? We personally toured him around the place, so why?" "Maybe." Shangguan Feiyun glanced at Bailey Jingwei, who was fixed on the guards. One guard finally spoke. "Grandmaster Gu is very suspicious. He kept saying he'll go to Jade Falls, but always ended up at the barracks saying the manor was too big every time." "All right, we get it. You may go." Bailey Jingwei dismissed them. The guards bowed and left puzzled. Bailey Jingwei chuckled, "Sword King, you get it now? Of course, the guy has a direction problem." Shangguan Feiyun's face twitched and sighed. Who'd have thought a great 11th grade alchemist ends up being directionally challenged? What makes it worse, he's a spy. Ha ha ha, well that's a first, using a guy with poor direction as a spy. Of course the map is all jumbled, not knowing which is north, south, east or west. I bet Shangguan Feiyun would have spurted blood feet high if he knew his map was drawn by a disoriented guy, ha ha ha. Bailey Jingwei smiled. Nobody's perfect, being drafted by them, he acts like the terrible spy he is. Of course he's liable to slip up, ha ha ha. Slip up? Such poor direction is worse than anyone's. Shangguan Feiyun mocked, but then frowned, though are you sure he's directionally challenged? An 11th grade alchemist at that? Bailey Jingwei's brow shook, and paused. This is the only explanation for what I know so far. Consider him having poor direction. Then our plan. We stick to it. The only change is that we'll be following this fake map. Bailey Jingwei grinned. Even with the twisted reality thanks to the fake map, the Shangwan clan will be caught all the same, ha ha ha. Shangwan Feiyin nodded. I thought of moving the soaring sword, just in case, but since the map is fake, there's no point. Chapter 902, 'Twas the night before the ambush. Chapter 902, 'Twas the night before the ambush. Proofreader, Papatonks. Dad, are they really dragging the fight elsewhere? In the pitch-black night, only the moonlight was shining some light upon the world, giving it a chilling air. The many houses in the city had their own faint yellow candlelight, in hope of dispelling the coldness. Gu Santong lay in bed, eyes staring at Zhua Fan polishing his demonic sword under the lamplight. With an evil grin, Zhua Fan replied, Yep, Flying Cloud Manor's move hinges on Shangwan clan's attack. While Shangwan clan's moves are following the map I provided. By now, the same map should be back in the manor. Ha ha ha, this way both sides' actions are under my control. They'll fight wherever I want them to without a choice, humph. Zhua Fan looked mighty pleased with his handiwork, confidence stemming from manipulating the whole board and its rules. What will we be doing then? Gu Santong muttered, could we help Shangwan clan after we set up the drawing array in the Jade Falls? Zhua Fan gave him a glance before fixating back on his precious demonic sword. Who cares about them? We do our own thing and ignore the rest so as to not invite more trouble. Flying Cloud Manor now has 2 sword kings and a prime minister on top. The Shangwan clan stands no chance. I used Shangwan Yulin to send fake info and scatter their forces. That should be enough breather for the Shangwan clan. Though not like it'll be for long. When the experts waiting in Shangwan Feiyin's room realize the attack won't be coming, the trap stemming from the fake info I had Shangwan Yulin send will collapse. When the two sides converge, the Shangwan clan will fall, but it's not certain if they will get wiped out. But their annihilation will work in our favor, their dying struggle buying us time to set the array. He, at least they died for something. Zhua Fan mocked, a tyrant lifting his sword above a mountain of skeletons, using the blood of all living things to write his own rise. Gu Santong sighed in silence. Zhua Fan's hand paused from cleaning the demonic sword, picking up on young Sanzi's mood. He no longer looked evil, now giving his son a bright smile. I know you don't like hanging with these people and grew tired of this place. Anyway, these 3 days will go by fast, so just bear with it. Ha ha ha, then according to Shangwan Feixiong's plan, the experts will attack while the juniors will leave. You'll slip away from them in the meantime to where we established. Don't forget the escape we set up before we got to Flying Cloud City, the Big Dipper flinging array, he. That means there's only the 2 of us surviving, walking all over their lives, Gu Santong muttered downcast. Zhua Fan didn't notice, too caught up in cleaning his great demonic sword and his dream of learning to use the sword. Knock. Someone was at the door. Zhua Fan paused from cleaning and asked, who is it? It's me. Zhua Fan heard Shangwan Qingyan saying, Mr. Gu, are you free? What's this chick up to at this hour? Giving Gu Santong a puzzled look, Zhua Fan knew he had to reply, I'll be right there. Zhua Fan gazed upon the frail figure as she stepped in. What got you coming here so late? Is young Sanzi asleep? Shangwan Qingyan was being awfully subtle. Zhua Fan gave a casual answer, kids are in bed at this hour. What do you? Come with me. Shangwan Qingyan cut him off by pulling his hand outside, in the back, then relaxed seeing no one around. No one will disturb us here. Disturb us? Zhua Fan watched the clear face reflected in the moonlight and rubbed his hands. Miss Shangwan, first you made sure young Sanzi is asleep and now you invited me in this secluded area. Ha ha ha, I'm shocked by your forwardness. I know my charm and I am quite fascinating that some girls just can't keep away from me, But I'm a married man and have a child. I'm not that kind of guy. But since you insist, I guess ugh. The sudden attack had him crying out. He saw Shengguan Qinyan pinching his thigh and twisting hard. Zhuo Fan struggled out of her clutches. What was that all about? Why else if not for talking trash? Shengguan Qinyan huffed and glared. I asked for you for a good reason, but your mind is clearly in the gutter. The only reason you're still conscious is because you're married. Zhuo Fan ignored her tantrum. How noble of you, despite being in a clan that trains in dual cultivation to vent. Isn't uncle a married man too? It's because the Shengguan clan's men are like that, so I can't stand it. Shengguan Qinyan waved her angry fist around, though she put it away without using it. Fine, let's just forget it. But you must get your wife back. Focus only on that and don't do anything that might break her heart. Zhuo Fan shook, his face heavy. What's it to you? Nothing, it's what I hope. Shengguan Qinyan sighed. Tomorrow you're going with Bailey Jingwei to the imperial capital and we might never see each other again. But don't worry, I'll look after young Sanzi and do my best to find his mother so that all of you will be reunited. I just hope that once you achieve success, there won't be another woman. Zhuo Fan stared at her. What do you mean? Didn't uncle want to take me to eastern lands? Dad did promise you that, but now, haha. Shengguan Qinyan gave a wry smile. Everything's changed. Dad is the clan head and sometimes the clan's future comes first, at the detriment of being disloyal on occasions. If you were still the same Gu Yifan that lent us your house to hide, Dad would have taken you. But Bailey Jingwei treated you as his most honored guest. And now, having helped the clan draw out their attack plan. So they. Words came hard to Shengguan Qinyan the longer she spoke. They decided to be practical. Practical? Favor you if alive or abandon you if dead. Shengguan Qinyan looked crushed as she continued. You know that Dad will attack 3 days after you and Bailey Jingwei leave. Regardless of the outcome, there's only 2 endings for you. Bailey Jingwei will find you out for giving us the map, executing you on the spot, or Bailey Jingwei will still see you in high regard and you will forever remain as Shengguan clan's spy in the central area. Didn't uncle say they'll accept me after the ambush succeeded? Shengguan Qinyan shook her head with a bitter smile. With Bailey Jingwei, the prime minister, having so many experts at his side and dragon-cleaving sword king on top, after Dad gets soaring sword, they aren't about to risk it over the likes of you. Their plan is to use you. If you die, the Shengguan clan will be ever grateful, raising young Sanzi as their own. If you live, young Sanzi will become hostage and force you to work for eastern lands. But don't worry, I will definitely get you back one day. Zhuo Fan squinted and nodded. Zhuo Fan's speculation reached this part as well and totally ignored it. He was just that confident since. We'll see who uses who. In a clash between big shots, there's no room for niceties nor kindness, only interest. That was how Bailey Jingwei was and the same applied to Shengguan Feiyan. So how could Shengguan Feixiong, known for his righteous character, be any lesser? It didn't change the fact they were still going to lose in this endeavor because they failed to even realize that there was another player having sneaked into their little game. Ignorance gets you killed. Zhuo Fan grinned and nodded. Thank you. No need for thanks, just be careful. If all goes well, I'll be sure to send young Sanzi to you, to help you two be reunited. Shengguan Qinyan spoke with resolve then bid her goodbye. Zhuo Fan waited for her to leave. Young Sanzi, come out. The chick is gone. Whoosh. Gu Santong was by Zhuo Fan's side in a flash of scarlet. The chick spouted so much tripe. Zhuo Fan snickered, his eyes cold. I've never trusted one of them from the start. My life will always be in my hands. I won't ever give it to anyone else. Zhuo Fan walked back, patting young Sanzi's head. Come, young Sanzi, this doesn't change anything. Gu Santong nodded but sometimes peeked behind. Auntie does care about him. Chapter 903, Blindsided. Chapter 903, Blindsided. Proofreader, Papatonks. Before the rooster could announce the coming of a new dawn, a group of men were packed and ready in front of the Flying Cloud Manor gate. All wore their finest, oozing nobility, yet just 30 of them were so excited they were bursting with joy and glee at their meteoric success. Such were the selected from the Pill King convention. Giving them a look of disdain, Bailey Jingwei sneered. Talents like these, and that was already overstating it, were only good as props for his plan. He'll just hand them over to the real alchemists as servants when they got to the imperial capital. Imperial family's alchemist? Ha! Shen Wanfeiyan's thoughts were the same, watching these delusional bums with equal scorn. Thump. A man and a woman were approaching this group with light steps. Bailey Jingwei cupped his hands and sported a vague smile. Grandmaster Gu, have you settled your matters? May we set off? Thank you, Prime Minister, for your concern. Everything is in order. Zhuofan returned the gesture with a light bow before turning to Shengguan Qingyan and putting on a yearning face. I'll be gone for a long time in the imperial capital and I'd be grateful if cousin will look after young Sanzi. Shengguan Qingyan's expressive eyes were filled with complex emotions, but only nodded. Don't worry, I'm young Sanzi's aunt and will give my all to take care of him. I'll be sure to bring him to you personally and reduce the longing. Thank you. Zhuofan sighed and cupped his hands at Bailey Jingwei. Prime Minister, we can go. All is in order for Mr. as well. Then he shouted, set off. Yes, sir. The guards, over 100, made of Soul Harmony and Genesis stage experts, escorted the others in a grand fashion. Dragon-cleaving Sword King had a flat look at the side, while Sword King Feiyan cupped his hand and saw them off. Shengguan Qingyan watched them go, her worried eyes ever on Zhuofan. Shengguan Feiyan grinned and teased, Miss Gu, Grandmaster Gu will be part of the inner circle now, gaining a nobility rank and having anything he could ever want. There's no cause for worrying either, not with Dan Qingshen and Prime Minister watching over. Everything will be fine, bar treason. You should be happy for him, ha ha ha. Shengguan Qingyan's lips fell in dismay, looking at him with a crooked smile worse than crying, only to sigh and leave. The minute Prime Minister Bailey is out, seal the city and impose a curfew. The commanding voice echoed behind her, those thieves might have slipped away with the visit of Prime Minister, but I'd rather be on the safe side. Comb the city and root them out. I won't tolerate the Shengguan clan causing chaos in my Flying Cloud City. Shengguan Qingyan paused, her face hard as she rushed faster for the Gu household. Looking at her so eager to report, Shengguan Feiyan's eyes flashed, his smile particularly crafty. By Prime Minister's plan, we should ease their minds. No, we should incite their greed, ha ha ha. Minutes later, Shengguan Qingyan rushed into the parlor to see Shengguan Feixiong and his experts waiting for her news. Dad! Shengguan Qingyan flushed with anger. Shengguan Feiyan will place the city in lockdown and search it for our people once Bailey Jingwei left. He said that he only loosened his guard and gave us the chance to escape only because Bailey Jingwei happened to come. Shengguan Feixiong looked at the three venerables and his experts and saw their nods. It's as we thought. Bailey Jingwei came with the Crown Prince's matter in mind and not for us. With Shengguan Feiyan's prideful character, he'll never admit his manor was attacked, hiding it from Bailey Jingwei. He'd then resume the search once he leaves. Yes, that's Shengguan Feiyan's style, everything for appearances. That means Bailey Jingwei and Dan Qingshen won't be a part of this plan, not when they are oblivious of it. Our enemy is only one, Shengguan Feiyan. Right. Great, now we don't have to face two Sword Kings. Everyone voiced their agreement with joy. A shout came as a man barged in and bowed, Clan head, Bailey Jingwei's procession is 50 miles out with no sign of turning back. They're almost out of sight and gone for good. They're also looking to be in a rush, with nothing flashy to denote Prime Minister is among them. That explains why Bailey Jingwei came to Flying Cloud City without notice. He's truly worried about the crown prince's situation. Shangguan Feixiong nodded. Now all doubts have been lifted, knowing Bailey Jingwei has only been a guest here and nothing more. Now that they left, we don't need to bother with them. They all nodded, with a venerable's eyes shining as his voice rose. The Shangguan clan won't miss this chance Providence laid before us. In 3 days, we strike. Yes, sir. They all cheered, as if victory was in sight. Only Shangguan Yulin, in his little dark corner, sported a creepy smile. While the Shangguan clan got fired up and ready for the big raid, Bailey Jingwei's group was now a day away when he stopped. Zhuo Fan faked obliviousness as he asked, "Prime Minister, do you need rest?" "Ha ha ha, I may not be much of an expert, but I am an 8th-layer ethereal stage cultivator. A day of walking isn't enough to tire me." Bailey Jingwei grinned. Zhuo Fan gave him a long look, then, "Return." Bailey Jingwei casually pointed at the soul harmony experts. You and you, are to escort the 30 alchemists to the imperial capital. The rest of you will follow me back to Flying Cloud City." Zhuo Fan shuddered and showed a bright and clueless smile. "Prime Minister, what do you mean?" "Ha ha ha, Grandmaster Gu, you'll know soon enough." Bailey Jingwei showed a vague smile and waved for 2 soul harmony experts to flank Zhuo Fan and grab his shoulders, taking him away. Zhuo Fan started, "Prime Minister Bailey, what are you doing?" "Taking Grandmaster Gu back to the city. But we just got a day away from Flying Cloud City and had those other alchemists escorted to the imperial capital. I should go with them. If you have a pressing matter, you can return by yourself, why take me as well?" Paling and panicking, Zhuo Fan forced himself to sweat to make the act even more believable. Bailey Jingwei gave a mocking smile, taunting, "Grandmaster Gu, I'm bringing you along to enjoy the show." "A show?" "Quite." Bailey Jingwei's eyes shone. "This act shall be known as blindsided." Zhuo Fan shook harder, overwhelmed. Bailey Jingwei signaled the guards to hold Zhuo Fan as they flew to Flying Cloud City. Prime Minister's many powerful guards were gone in a blink, gone back to the city in secret. All that remained were 3 soul harmony experts and the stumped alchemist looking at each other like a cow looking at a new gate. "What just happened? Are you taking us to the imperial capital, to enjoy riches and live glorious lives? Why are there just 2 guards left and the others up and ran off? Do we mean so little? We're future imperial alchemists here. Step it up." As they were trying to make sense of it and failing, the soul harmony experts barked at them. The prideful alchemists were annoyed, with someone having the bright idea to voice his discontent. "What's the rush? Don't you know I'm to be an imperial alchemist? Who the hell are you to order me?" Bam! His ranting came to an abrupt stop, only a bloody mist remaining of his trace in this cruel world. A guard wiped his hand, glancing at the others with disdain. "Prime Minister ordered us to escort you to the imperial capital, and kill any who refuse." That was the cruel truth. Bailey Jingwei never gave a hoot about them. All he cared about was not letting them flee, to plug any leak, though only for these 3 days. The alchemist watched the blood soak the earth with empty eyes, their minds out of commission. Weren't we imperial alchemists? How can a mere guard treat us like cattle? Just what jobs awaits us in the imperial capital anyway? They were wrecked with fear, doubt and terror. They were sensible enough not to speak any more. The hope in their eyes now turned into despair. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.